siya yung mag-a-announce ng national anthem, tama? Ako mag-signal kay
Go ahead,
David.
go ahead.
Pakisabihan mo ako. Okay. Oh God, yung internet is really bad. Ng ano eh? Dito. Try mo
National anthem.
Stand by OBB. Stand by OBB, the national anthem. Here.
Where you at?
They're almost. Usap na. Mag-usap na. Okay daw.
May nakaupo yun.
Good afternoon again, everyone. Let us all rise for the Philippine National Anthem. Let us remain standing for the invocation to be led by Pamela Mengrajani, the LSU Student Government President.
Let us remember that we are in the holy presence of God, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, we thank you for giving us another election year, not only to exercise our right to vote, but also to inspire our fellow Filipinos to vote wisely. We pray that the Filipino people realize that politics is not something we should take for granted, but something we should play an active role in. We also thank you for gathering all of us today to listen and comprehend the platforms, policies, and ideas of the different candidates we have for the upcoming 2016 elections. May all of us be good citizens who are vigilant and conscientious voters so we can elect officials that promote collaboration, integrity, and accountability. We also we also humbly ask you to bless our candidates that they may be able to truly serve the people with faith, service, and communion in their minds and in their hearts. Our Lasallian prayer: I will continue, O my God, to do all my actions for the love of you. Saint John Baptist de La Salle, live Jesus in our hearts forever. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
May I?
Let me call up, please, Brother Raimundo Suplido, the president of the La Salle State University.
Our esteemed guests, Senator Cayetano, Representative Romualdez, Representative Colmenares, Attorney Capunan, Mayor Duterte, officers and representatives of Rappler, and the different organizations who have worked together to make this forum possible. Globe, DZRH, Facebook, AMA Educational System, and Media ng Bayan. Delegates of the South Manila Educational Consortium, delegates of LaSalle schools, parents, faculty, alumni, students, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. De La Salle University is honored to host this forum because she is committed to building a community of leaders, competent professionals, scholars, researchers, and entrepreneurs who will participate actively in improving the quality of life in Philippine society within the perspective of Christian ideals and values. Now we find ourselves preparing for the coming national elections, a pivotal time that will, in no uncertain terms, determine the development and well-being of our people. The leaders we will elect will have the grave responsibility of leading our nation in the face of myriad, complex, and pressing issues. These challenges include, among others, spurring equitable, inclusive economic growth, tackling peace and order concerns, confronting the effects of climate change, ensuring and diversifying our sources of energy, securing our territorial sovereignty, and implementing a radical reform in the education of our youth. In the coming months, the Filipino electorate will have to weigh on the scales these issues on one side, and on the other side, the plans and programs of our esteemed candidates and how they will deal with these issues. This afternoon, we are fortunate to listen to them and to see for ourselves who they are and what they stand for. With utmost wisdom and vigilance, we must practice discernment in selecting the men and women who will best guide and unite our nation. As responsible citizens, we can do no less, for at stake is the future of our people and the integrity of our nation. But we must also clarify for ourselves what we truly value for our country. As Roy Disney put it, it's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. Fortunately, we can now leverage technology to discuss with one another, do our due diligence, and even directly engage with candidates as informed and responsible citizens of our republic. We can now tap the democratizing power of technology, particularly social media, for the free exchange of questions, information, insights. So we are thankful that news organizations such as Rappler, as well as our other event partners, are committed to the truth and see the promotion of greater clarity and transparency for this coming election as part of this mission. We thank each one of you here and all those whom we reach in the different parts of the Philippines, thanks to the wonder and miracle of social media. Through this forum and the initiatives of other concerned and dedicated Filipinos, may our electorate be better informed and elect the good leaders we need, those with the wisdom, compassion, integrity, experience, and most importantly, the resolve to guide and lead our people to a more prosperous, just, and humane future. Thank you. Have a very meaningful afternoon, and God bless us all.
Hello, everyone. I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to hashtag The Leader I Want. With our partners, we're coming to you live from De La Salle State University here in De La Salle University. My apologies, De La Salle University. We are also live on nearly 200 radio and television stations. We're live coming to you on your mobile phone, and we're live on social media. With our partners, the AM and FM stations of DZRH, MBZ, the TV stations of Media ng Bayan, including PTV4, that's across the Philippines, and the cable television station of DZRH. With our partner, Facebook, you can watch live on Rappler's Facebook page and continue the conversation on all our partner Facebook pages. Most of the questions today were contributed on Facebook, and crowdsourced voting determined the top questions that our candidates will be asked today. Our community partners across the Philippines, Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan, ISEC Philippines, Lente, World Vision, Oxfam, Ateneo Task Force 2016, and UNDP Philippines. There are also nearly 40 viewing parties across partner schools in the Philippines, including Silliman University, Lyceum of the Philippines University, Ateneo, and other DLSU campuses. Let me explain what will happen today. All the presidential and vice presidential candidates were invited to hashtag The Leader I Want Forum. They were invited to present their platforms and to answer your questions. One tandem declined early on. Two sent regrets this weekend. One tandem declined last night after 7 p.m. The last men standing, and they will come up on stage. The only ones courageous enough to see this as an opportunity instead of a risk are Davao Mayor Rudy Duterte for president. Please, let us ask him to go on stage. Let's bring him on stage. Davao Mayor Duterte for president. And let me also call up on stage his running mate, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano. Please let me explain that for Rappler and all of our partners, this by no means is an endorsement. It is not an endorsement of their candidacy. Let's state that, right? But that they are the tandem who have taken the stage. And just so you know, everyone around in the hall, there are 2,000 in the hall, please raise your hand if you are registered to vote. Let's show who is registered to vote in the audience. Very good. And now the viewing parties are up across the Philippines. What will happen? So we have both men on stage. Each man will have they'll have 10 minutes each to present their platform. Together, they will have 20 minutes before we go to our first commercial break. As that is happening, please use the hashtags PHVote, hashtag The Leader I Want to throw your comments, suggestions, and your questions. Vote up the questions that you want. When we come back from break, we're going to go into the first part one of the crowdsourced questions, and then we'll go to another break, and then part two of the crowdsourced questions. After that, our two gentlemen will do their closing statements, and we will then talk to other national candidates who are also brave enough to come and face us today. 3 senatorial candidates, and let's just say hello to them here. We have, I believe, Representative Martin Romualdez, if you're here in the audience, please stand up. We have Representative Nery Colmenares and Attorney Lorna Kapunan. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's focus on the stage and the two gentlemen standing in front of us. 10 minutes each, 20 minutes together, the tandem, Cayetano Duterte, Duterte Cayetano. The stage is yours.
Good afternoon. Nung pasakay na ako ng elevator, tinanong ko kung nandyan ba yung iba, yung debate, I thought it was one stage of debate. Sinabi nila, kami lang daw ni Senator Cayetano. Sabi ko, umuwi na lang ako. Kasi baka sabihin ng mga tao, kami lang ang dalawa nag-surrender sa Lasal. So, anyway, let me be quick and precise. We live in a democracy, no doubt about it. We have regular elections, we have it all. Except that, is it a government of the people? Maybe. Is it by the people? Yes. But is it for the people? Yan ang problema. That's the problem. There is so much trouble in this country. There is absolutely no peace for all of us here in all of the places in the Philippines. Is there order? There's a great disorder, and you know that everywhere. Almost all gamot of human life and the governance. What really worried me, and maybe at the back of my mind forcing me to run, was the condition of our country. It's very disorderly, and people do not have security. I do not pretend to be the silver bullet for a lot of these things. There is no, whatever it is that's really ideal for everybody. But ang problema dito is, it is not only the criminals who are working overtime to oppress the people, and itself, the government. I cannot understand why government is into it. Is it for the people? This country, the law, the obedience to the law is almost optional. You have the highest there, the smugglers and the rich, the filthy rich. Well, of course, there are the clean rich, but there are those who are filthy with their hands soiled with so many things. And it runs into billions. Evasion of taxes, smuggling, and all sorts of high corruption and even in our everyday dealings economically. You cannot buy an equipment without any commission. That's horrendous. Almost all of our transactions, it's either TRO'd by the Supreme Court or by the courts because it's tainted with corruption. And then again, there is this at the bottom. And those are really the criminals of having a headache, especially drugs. My God, I hate drugs. And I had to kill people because I hate drugs. Now, when you say that, Duterte, your blood-stained hands is everywhere. Of course not. I do not execute people kneeling down with their hands tied at their back, if that is what you mean or what was meant by some as extrajudicial killing. It's always a confrontation. Believe me, I will dwell on it if I lose the time, pasensya na. Because always, the government is at the receiving end also for those few men who are brave to do their work. Alam mo yung mga drug lords and addicts, do not ever, maybe not all, but do not believe the uniform standard of the bleeding hearts that they were, the term is salvage, extrajudicially terminated. Of course not. It's always an armed confrontation. Kasi if you'd notice, and I'm sure you know an addict in this place, in this city, in this country, na lumalaban talaga yan because they are paranoid, hallucinated all the time, and they almost always invariably carry weapons, lethal weapons, to fight it out. Now, if I become president, there's no such thing as bloodless cleansing. I propose to get rid of the drugs within 3 to 6 months. And maybe I can do it. Or do I say that? Well, my exhibit is Davao City. It's very porous. There's no such thing as complete peace and order. But I said, we always try to suppress crime and drugs. The motherhood is yung droga na yan. Once they start stealing from you, from your family, to friends, then they go up higher and go into serious crime and rape, which was unheard of in our generation. There was no such thing as a rape of a 1-year-old girl. Wala ho sa amin yan. And I hate it because I have a drug facility in Davao. Kasi sabi sila, pinapatay ko. Look, hindi ko kayang pumatay ng babae pati bata. Siguro yung drug lord, maybe yes, with pleasure. Kasi galit talaga ako. I am mad. Kaya sa Davao pa, wala pa ako dito. Not even the shores of Manila before. In 1988, I've been mayor for 22 years. Sinabi ko ta sa laga kanila, drugs and criminality must stop. It is just simply intolerable to me. And I would do it even if it would, listen, cost me my life, my honor, and even my liberty. Wala akong gitna niyan. But it would always be in accordance with law. If it would come down to a shooting, I am sure that my orders would be followed that do not allow yourself to be killed. My God, kill the criminals and I will protect you. Do abuses, private crimes, and I will kill you. Yun ang sinabi ko doon. We were desperate. We were on the crossroads from just a transition of martial law. Then we were enjoying the full benefit of a democratic space. Ang problema doon sa amin noon, every time Dick and Harry would want to fight the communists were given firearms. So at the end of martial law, there were a lot of firearms in the hands of people who were not authorized to use them. So I had to worry about the remnants of the martial law, lawlessness, and with the new an abundance of criminals. Kasi wala nang komunista, wala namang pinapatay. So they went into a rampage. And I said, I've been a prosecutor, I've been a trial fiscal for 10 years. Sabi ko, hindi ko talaga kaya yan. Hindi ko masikmura yan. So I started with, well, so much of that kidnappings and all, I was able to come up with a relatively safe city. And if you've been to Davao, I can assure you, baski ngayon kayo pumunta ko, you can go about every nook and corner of Davao City and you are safe. Alam kasi ng mga kriminal na ang kapalit nila, pag nagloko sila, buhay nila. Wala akong, no excuses. I do not ask for any understanding. That's my drill. Now, dito naman sa gobyerno, we are oppressing. You can't just imagine. A 65-year-old woman leaving for Singapore, tinaniman ng bala. What if, kung nakalusot yon beyond the customs, and the old woman, the hapless woman, would arrive in Singapore and get caught with an explosive. Bullet is an exclusive to them. Ano nangyari kay sa Pilipino? That is pure oppression. Not even just a crime committed against it. Ang masama niyan, taga-gobyerno, and it is true here in Metro Manila. You have shabu at a time sold here, and it was a product of Muntinlupa. And nobody was minding it until now. And you have to compromise yourself with the prisoners, even just to clean the place. Look, wag ninyong gawin sa akin. And if you do not like my style, apat dyan. They are all competent, all good. So they claim. And I agree with them, with some, but not all, because there are frauds in the lineup. If you cannot bear to see this republic, but I assure you, crime, drugs, corruption in government, give me, I do not ask for a term. I ask for 3 to 6 months and I will finish them. Walang excuse. I'm putting the severe limit because then I will be forced to act. Otherwise, after 6 months, mangangamoy ako. That is why I gave myself a very constricted, because I cannot hope and even develop Mindanao if we do not do away with violence. I have to have a nation building, separate criminality, drugs, and corruption from Mindanao. There is violence. This rampant. But I said, this is nation building. I have to talk to Maria Season. I have to talk to Murad, Normiswari, and everybody to come up with a peaceful Mindanao. I cannot hope to improve the economy of the island without law and order because no investor of malalaki lang corporation will develop. And remember, this country is agricultural based. Most of the poor, 70% of the film come from the agricultural sector. We have to improve the economy. We should start with the land. Kasi tayo, agricultural-based ang Pilipinas. And Mindanao provides, by the grace of God, the relief because wala kaming typhoon. It does not have the storm surges that kill people. But there are a surge of crime and violence because there is a revolution. The New People's Army are pinakamalakas ang Mindanao. And my time is up. Dali naman. You extend ito more. Oh, yeah. Pagka pumasok yung mga kalaban ninyo, huwag na papasukin. Ganda-ganda ng panahon dito. Gusto na niya, magsampalan kami dito. Let me start with Mindanao. It is most profound in Mindanao. Look, I'll give you. 1521, Magellan landed in Leyte, island of Limasawa. Why he landed there, si Magellan? Because the guy was so horny. Traveling the Pacific Ocean for so many months, was looking for a woman. Lima yung asawa, kasi lima ang asawa, di dato, dito tayo. Baka maka-extra pa ang ulol. It pieces me. He discovered the Philippines. What? We were doing all right as a Malay state until you came. Now when you came down from, anong ginawa mo? You planted the cross of Christianity. Okay, that's good. I do not have an issue about religion. It ties us down to our values in life. Look, when I say things, listen to my epithets. Listen to my cuss words. But look beyond, for there is a sad story of the Filipino. In 1521, my God, 70 years, sabi ng Muslim scholars, Islam, it's about 1 century. But I place it at 16, looking at the archives. Islam was already planted firmly in Mindanao. So when you come down and say, I claim ownership and possession of these islands in the name of the King of Spain, and I would call all the natives and Filipinos, that guy started the trouble. Down from the imperial throne, a highly centralized government for control, down to the Americans, maintaining the same system for control, and until now we have this war. Surely, when he said that I own these islands, a grave injustice was already committed against the Moro people. They would not relish to be called Filipinos because they cannot be the subject of a Christian King Philip. Yan ang dynamics ng Mindanao. So we have a problem. We claim that they are rebelling. It's just simply, ang problema, I was with Murad when I came here for this gathering. And Murad asked me sa aeroplano, Mayor, is it true that Nur Miswari has declared independence? Sabi ko kay Nur noon, Nur, do not do it. 4 months, 6 months ago sa Marco Polo sa Davao. Because when you do that, and 1 or 2 or 3 states would recognize you, then you raise the fighting in Mindanao to a belligerent state. And then you have to deal with Miswari now as a state, and you have to resolve it before the United Nations. Hindi lang ninyo alam talaga ano kabigat ang problema sa Mindanao. If nothing about BBL, then we cannot develop. Business cannot. If there is no BBL, there will be trouble again. Fighting would flare up. Yung mga multinationals, nandyan lahat, they would start to withdraw. Then you lose the money and you lose the job. Now, if it goes kapot, stock exchange, ganun lang yan. Isang pindot lang yan, you lose the whole of the money from the country. That is why I hold it as an article of faith, or they call me ultra-right. I am not. I am a leftist. I never hid it. Ang partido ko, bayan. Hindi ako sabihin ninyo na I just govern exactly what I see would fit into the system and be right all the time. Human rights accusation, what? Dilemma. She was the chairman of the Commission on Human Rights. She became the DOJ. And Shabu was flourishing. Ako kaisa-isang opisyal na binabanata niya ng human rights. I say si Gusto Davao, ang bank with the commissioner. And she tell me, Mr. Duterte, you were overheard one day that you threatened a certain Alfredo Mendoza. What is really very unfortunate is that 2 days after he was found dead with a gunshot wound in the head. What is horrible? Nobody was answering. I said, ako? Yes! You are the responsible person in this city. And I said, ambot. Ambot, no. Then I told them, we are both lawyers. Marami naman tayo buka. Ba't ka magpakornihan dito? If you want to get evidence against me, get it somewhere else. Bakit mo? Do not get it from my mouth. Gaga ka pala. Bakit mo? Why should I provide evidence against myself? And besides, wala naman. I mean, there's really nothing to apologize for. No excuses, no apology. I'm there to serve the people. For all of my life, as mayor, as a prosecuting fiscal, I never addressed anybody or me, official. What you'd hear from my mouth always sa probinsya is, I'm just a government employee. And precisely, I am, and we are. And we're there to serve. Economy, we badly need it. How do we do it? How do we fix it? We must clean. We must get rid of drugs. Last one, ano ito, basketball? Tumahimik ka dyan. Wala nang ang kalaman, pa last minute ka pa dyan. I'm good after 8 o'clock tonight. Really, I came prepared. Food, okay. Kusot-kusot lang kasi siya na? I-wave mo na lang, Lan. I-wave mo na lang. Hindi, okay. No. Well, I said, there are only two lang. It's economy and law and order. Ang problema dito sa law and order is, I said, government is suppressing. Corruption must stop. I said, ang exhibit ko ngayon Davao, if I could stop corruption, everybody behaves there. Wala kaming pulis na abusado. Wala kaming pulis na nasa droga. Meron, pinatay ko yung isa ngayon. May pulis na kidnap. Pinatay ko. It was the last kidnapping. Police. Human rights. Ambot.
Ang lahat ng bagay sa mundong ito ay may panahon at oras. Panahon na ipanganak, panahon na mamatay, panahon na magtanim, panahon na mag-ani, panahon na manggiba, at panahon na gumawa. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor, maayong hapon sa kaninyong tanan. Sa mga kababayan ng aking agum ay Diyos marhay na hapon sa Indogabos. Lasal Brothers, Rappler, Mariresa, of course, DZRH, thank you very much for this opportunity. Ito pong panahon na to ay panahon ng pagsusuri. Panahon po na may bulaos o daan sa ating harap or a crossroads that wherein we will have to decide. And the more information you get regarding the candidates, the better. Some people say there's premature campaigning, but in the US, 2 years before, simula na yung sa primary, a year later, panay mga debate, by the time that you elect someone, you know them inside and out. No? Sa ating bansa po, iba, you always get surprises. So kanina, pagtanong ni Mayor, tinatanong ko kay Mayor, Mayor, bakit wala tayong kadibate? Akala ko may kadibate tayo. Sabi ko, baka naman natakot, akala barilan. Hindi naman yung usapan, debate lang naman, barilan ng ideas lang. Everywhere we go, ang sabi lang naman ni Mayor, kung hindi ka namang kriminal at hindi ka korap, huwag matakot. Kung sa korap, isang presidential candidate lang naman dapat matakot. Naman tayo, sa bagay, wala rin siya dito. Pero, if we talk about political maturity, we have to come a time where we stop just mouthing it's about the issue, it's about the advocacy, but you decide whether or not you will debate on whether or not there is a risk and whether or not you will make a mistake and it will cost you your presidency. No? Mayor talked about the why. Mayor Duterte told you, we believe we are creations of the Lord. He believes in a better Philippines. We can do much better. He believes that we shouldn't be oppressed. Whether it's by the criminals, the corrupt, or by the government itself, hindi dapat tayo ma-oppress. Yun po yung why. Let me talk a little bit about the how, again, under the instructions of Mayor Duterte and as we discussed in the program. Para maalala nyo, simple lang, peace and order 24/7, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Peace to talking to the Muslim rebels, to the left, to the right, to any group to end any kind of discrimination in our country. Discrimination because of religion, discrimination because of race, discrimination because of gender, discrimination because of social status. Peace and order because criminals have taken over. Go to the streets, even in the subdivisions. No? Alam mo, half of our kababayans believe that baka atakihin sila ng addict anytime. Half of our people, SWS po to, 48 to 52% believe that anytime at night, pwedeng akyatin ng bahay mo, pwede kang nakawan, and half of the people believe or actually worry about a relative coming home late at night. That is a reality. Alam niyo po, ang naririnig niyo po minsan ay yung patayan. Simple lang ang ibig sabihin po ni Mayor doon, and he spoke about it already. He will enforce the law. 1,000 times he said, no extrajudicial killing, we will follow the Constitution. What you haven't seen is Exhibit A. The 911 in Davao City. What you haven't seen is the CCTV cameras. What you haven't seen is the intelligence and order of battle. The mayor is very strategic and very tactical. He will not go out in the streets at bunutin mo yan, patayin mo yan, kunin mo yan. Hindi po. He will know beforehand sino po ang pusher dito sa lugar na to. Saan nagbebenta? Mag-buy-bust tayo. Kapag ka hindi lumaban, hulihin mo yan. Pagka lumaban, alam mo na gagawin mo. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, he just says it differently. But everywhere in the world, yun na po ang utos sa law enforcers. Sa law enforcers all over the world, pag sinabing put your hands up at hindi mo tinaas ang kamay mo and you go for the gun, the law enforcer is authorized to shoot. Unfortunately sa atin, sa takot nila, dahil sila na yung police, sila pa yung makakasuhan, hindi lang human rights, sa korte, masususpend, pamilya nila walang kakainin. And do you know how much the pay of the police is? Ang starting po ng police is 14,800 pesos. Now, let's stop criticizing for 1 minute. Imagine you were a PNP official. 14,800 ang sweldo mo. Ang cost of living in Metro Manila, assuming a family of 5, no? 3 children, isang asawa. Isang asawa lang para sa police. Sabihin po natin gano'n, no? 35,000. So on your first day of work, kulang ka na ng 20,000. So what do you tell your wife? Darling, may sakit ka, hindi kita pwedeng pagamot dahil kulang ng 20,000 budget ko? What do you tell your mother? Na hindi kita mabili ng wheelchair o hindi kita madala sa ospital dahil wala? What do you tell your children? Anak, huwag ka na muna mag-aral. I'm not saying corruption is correct. I'm not saying pangungotong is correct. But if you want to get rid of corruption and you want an effective police force, the only solution is the Duterte solution of raising their pay between 50 to 100,000 pesos. On Facebook and on social media, sabi sa amin, Sir, bakit ho hindi yung mga doktor? Bakit ho hindi yung nurses? Bakit ho hindi yung teachers? The mayor has made public pronouncement about professionals getting bigger pay. But he also knows hindi mo pwedeng itaas sabay-sabay lahat. So yung iba na nangako sa inyo na lahat itataas sabay-sabay, nambobola. Because hindi kaya. At doon naman nagsasabi sa yung hindi itataas, then they will not solve corruption. So Mayor said immediately he will meet the cost of living, and within a year, he will meet the 75,000. And after the police have shapen up, after he removes the elements who are dirty in the police, and everyone has the dignity of being a law enforcer and does their job, yung investments pumapasok, yung revenues tumataas, then we can increase the pay of others. Going to the second, so first is peace and order, second po is regional development going to federalism. The mayor has said that it will take 6 months to maybe 3 or 4 years to convert to federalism. When you hear federalism po, ang naiisip nyo, yung power structure, no? Yung pong USA or Federal Republic of Germany. Many do not know that economically, China followed the federal system. Bawat region sa China at bawat city was given authority, money, and the confidence to decide on itself in investments, in giving incentives, no? And can you show the slide of Metro Manila, no? Many of you don't know that traffic ang Metro Manila, baha ang Metro Manila, masikip ang Metro Manila because 19,000 per square kilometer na sa Metro Manila, the closest is Calabarzon is less than 1,000. Everywhere else, it's less than 500 people. And if you watch TV, ang solusyon parate, build more roads, ayusin yung baha. Why is this happening? Because a congressman, a mayor, an ambassador, a reporter, matatraffic, mababaha, will complain, and everyone gives the same answer. Dagdagan yung infrastructure. Nandito tayo lahat sa Metro Manila. And the politicians are too afraid to tell the media because they're all based here, and it's too long to explain, that kaya tayo ganito sa Metro Manila because the more traffic, the more roads, the more cars, and the more workers you'll get from Calabarzon, from Bicol, from Pampanga and everything. When they get here, ang ganda pala ng eskwelahan dito. Ang ganda pala ng health center. You know how much we spend in Metro Manila? 1 trillion of the 3 trillion budget. 1 trillion. Anywhere we go, ang sinasabi, Mayor, kailangan pa ba kami mag-abroad? Mayor, ato pa ba kaming Manila o ato pa ba kaming Cebu o Davao para lang makahanap ng trabaho? Do we have to go there? They want work in their own place. But everywhere in the Philippines, the budget is only 2 to 4%. 1 trillion goes to Metro Manila. So just by having regional development, for example, Cebu, if we allowed them 10 years ago to bid out their own projects, they will have an MRT by now. If you allowed Mindanao to bid out their own projects, you will have a 200-kilometer railway system by now. Why don't we have it? Ang priority kasi ng Malacanang is BBL, 100 billion a year. 86 billion lang po yung railway. It was on the desk of NED already. In 2012, Phase 1 was already approved. There was already a foreign study on the feasibility. But since Manila politicians decide for Ilocos, Bicol, Pampanga, we can't even make the right decisions for Metro Manila. How can we make the right decisions for the whole country? Ano po sabi ni Senator Chis Escudero? Ang po Escudero daw naniniwala federalism cannot work. So what's their alternative? We're offering a different economic program, but they cannot offer something better, just motherhood statements. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, equality under the law. So peace and order, 24/7, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, regional development, inclusive economy leading to federalism, and equality under the law. Simply put, lahat tayo takot sa batas, pero lahat tayo protektado sa batas. So passing a law and enforcing the law na bawal na ang contractualization. Because yung mga 40, 50 years old, hindi na makakuha ng trabaho. Yung 20 to 40 years old na hindi nakapag-college, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, tinatanggal sa trabaho. That's an example. If you go to the jail, 50% po na nakakulong, drug-related. Halos lahat po, walang abogado. Walang equality under the law in our country. We will be unveiling our economic plan, other plans as we go on the campaign. It's more than 100 days. If we give everything today at one time, hindi rin naman ma-digest. And we really want to spark a debate, no? Hindi yung drama-drama sa TV, kung hindi yung tunay na debate about it. Mayor mentioned exhibits. Exhibit A, Davao. Please visit. I learned through Rappler, I didn't even know, that Davao is 3 times bigger than Metro Manila. So yung mga nagsasabing, mayor lang naman si Duterte. Paano magiging presidente? Exhibit A, Davao is 3 times bigger than Metro Manila. It was at one point in time a killing field. The left, the right, the military, the NPAs, the religious conflict because of the Muslims and the Christians in the area. Many, many problems. But 30 years later, people who are there are happy being one of the safest cities in the world. Exhibit B, the city of Taguig. They said when we promised free education, it is not possible. In the city of Taguig po na ngayon, 140,000 students, libre po ang sapatos, ang pantalon, ang shirt, 2 pantalon o palda, 3 pang itaas, bag, notebook, health kit. So ang bata walang excuse na hindi pumasok. More effective than conditional cash transfer. No fees for graduation, togas, for even their junior, senior prom is completely catered and free with a live streaming so their OFW parents can watch them. When they graduate, they're given 10,000 peso coupon, which can be elevated to 50,000 to pick their school of choice, TESDA. It can also be in SUC, or we have a local college where everything is free. And how many cities around the country, siguro mga 50 po, can afford to do this? But ang problema na sa Metro Manila lahat ng pera. So we have experimented in many things. In health, 7 out of 10 people die without seeing a doctor. Tumawag ka ng 911 sa Davao City, you will see a doctor right away. Personal experience po namin. Yung pamangkin po namin, hindi alam ni Mayor to. Ang anak ng ate ko, bumped his head, nahulog, nabuksan yung trunk, he was playing, nahulog, buti lang hindi umaandar sa sasakyan. We brought him to the hospital, tinignan siya, sabi wag na i-MRI, he's okay. And when we were paying, gulat kami sa sagot ng doktora. It was a private hospital. Sir, bata yan. We have to take care of him. Magagalit sa amin si Mayor kung magcha-charge pa kami dyan. We didn't call. Same thing sa taxi driver. One of my staff took and said, boss, nang mamadali ako. Pakibilisan. Sabi niya, sir, may speed limit. Kala namin, sabi niya, parang Singapore, mahal ang fine. Hindi, sabi niya, sir, nakakaya po kay Mayor kung i-break namin. There is no fear in Davao. There is love. There is respect. There is pride. In the city of Taguig, if you have diabetes or a heart problem and you're poor, you don't have to line up for the medicine. We bring it to your house. Because we have a GIS system, which they use in Thailand and other cities, where every 3 months we go to your house and ask, sino may trabaho, sino wala, anong sakit, and everything. Exhibit C, the local government code. Let me pay tribute today. Senator Nene Pimentel, the father of the local government code, is here today. Pork barrel would be king today if not for the local government code. Successes of Makati, Quezon City, Davao, Cebu City, all the large cities, part of the success is leadership like Mayor Duterte, but part of the success is the local government code of 1991, which devolved power to them. 25 years later, it's time to devolve more power going to federalism. That is Exhibit A, B, and C. And since I've seen the last 2 minutes, let me just share a personal note. No? Let me put it this way. No? I communicate better when I try to be funny. So, meron pong politiko, tumatakbong presidente, pumunta po sa pare, Father, forgive me for I have sinned. Malapit na ang kampanyahan, so gusto kong mangumpisal. Sabi, anak, ano pong kasalanan mo? Tatakbo po akong presidente. Hindi kasalanan yun, anak. Ano kasalanan mo? He remained silent. So, yung pari na nagtanong, babayero ka ba? Hindi po, sir. Corrupt ka ba? Hindi po, Father. Ikaw ba'y nagnanakaw sa government? Hindi po. Inefficient ka ba? Hindi po, Father. Pumapatay ka ba? Hindi po, Father. Ano kasalanan mo? Ba't ka nangungumpisal? Sinungaling po ako, Father. Sabi, well, this is your penance. Do this and do that, but promise me you won't do it again. Father, I can't lie to you. I cannot promise you I won't do it again. But I will tell the people I will not do it again. And you have candidates like that. Then another candidate came and said, Father, forgive me for I have sinned. Ano kasalanan mo? Father, nagmumura ako. Father, may pinatay akong kriminal dahil kidnapper sila. Father, minsan kahinaan ko na rin. Maganda, kaya medyo naligawan ko. Nagmura ka? Opo, Father. Minsan nga po, nadamay pati si Pope, pero hindi ko naman sinasadya. Tsaka, yun lang ang nilabas ng TV pero hindi naman yun ang minumura ko, yung traffic minumura ko. Sabi po nung pare, Mayor Rodi, ikaw ba yan? Opo, Father. Mayor, ang penitensya mo, serve the Filipino people and clean our streets of criminals. Lastly, Mayor Rodi said, if in 6 months, January 1, 2017, you do not feel safer, that more than half of the pushers have either stopped or are gone from this world, that you cannot walk the streets feeling safe, and within 6 months, you are not satisfied with him, he will resign. I will join him. Pagbibintangan niyo pa kung resign sa kanya, ako magiging presidente, kung mananalo. But I will give him my full support. For those of you who have doubts, don't even vote for me, but vote for him. Why? Vice President is just there to support, to agenda, to help. The President has the power, and a right President can really make meaningful change. So let me tell you this from the heart. As a person who served government for 23 years, who has both the experience, but is not blemished by corruption, and has always been truthful to you, I wanted to run for president. I was offered by more than 2 of those running now to run for the vice president. And I think they can make a difference, but a small difference. Just something better. But when I went to see the mayor, not knowing if he's going to run or not knowing kung kukunin niya ako hindi, sabi ko, Mayor, I believe you can change this country. Kung tatakbo ka, sayong-sayo na kami. I was with my family. And ladies and gentlemen, mga kapwa ko sa lista, I urge you, support this man. Give him 6 months. He will not disappoint you. Good afternoon. Maraming salamat po sa inyo.
Thank you. Thank you so much to everyone in the audience. Please, you have open Wi-Fi in addition to what LaSalle has. You have Globe open Wi-Fi, hashtag PHVote. That can be your access point. And at the same time, please let me, we have Senator Pimentel in the audience as well as Senator Pia Cayetano. I believe she's also here. To those of you on radio and television, stay tuned. Short break. We're going to be right back. And to those here, let me introduce you. The live stream will continue, and let me introduce you to David, who will, at least we have 3 minutes on the commercial break. We'll bring in our viewing parties outside. Go ahead, David.
Test. Sorry.
Oh, it's you again.
Whoa.
Wala bang iba? Okay.
Here.
Here, where? Sorry.
30
Saan?
seconds to go.
Yes, go. Fast. Let's go fast.
Okay, my question is for our,
It's...
hello, dito.
Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead up top first.
Hi, dito sa taas. Ay, anyway. My question is for Mr. Duterte. Actually, medyo, if okay lang po ba na Bisaya na lang? Okay.
Actually, if you have a question for Mayor Duterte, we'll take it in the last gap, right?
Oh, yes.
We'll come back to you on the questions.
For now, reactions.
We'll go
We're
to
looking
the-
for reactions.
Yeah.
So
And-
generally, I like everything that I heard, but it's more focused on the crimes and everything. I'm actually for federalism, and that's very nice for the country. But I think we lack nationalism as a whole body. I think we need to be more concerned about our nation before we implement something like federalism. Because most of the people, in my perspective, from what I see, they are slightly apathetic with regards to their love for the nation. That's
Okay.
just my piece.
Thank you so much. We're about to begin again. We're coming into the live stream. All right, let's go back to those coming in. Oh, on cue. So. Hello, welcome back. To those of you listening and watching on radio and television, we are back, and we've just heard the platform of Mayor Rudy Duterte and Senator Alan Cayetano. We're now coming to Facebook, to the crowdsourced questions that you've had. If you want to take a look at the list of questions, you can, Rappler will tweet, and our partners will tweet the link for all of them. The first question coming up on Facebook is this one. Let's post it up, please. We've come from security. This is coming in from Tawi-Tawi. Kami po sa ARMM ay nangangamba na ginagawang breeding ground ang Muslim community sa ARMM ng mga ISIS. How will you address the potential threat of ISIS to our national security at lalo na sa ARMM? Mayor Duterte, hindi ko po to sinid. Sila ho yung nagtanong.
I'll treat it as a very serious matter. Terrorism nowadays is the vogue. Is the fad going on all around the world. And the kind of technology of violence is really very brutal and cruel. I have to deal with it harshly also. No choice. Kill innocent people, blow up the marketplace, killing children, burning everybody. I said, if I cannot accept the ordinary criminal, I would never accept that kind of.
Senator Cayetano.
Extremism from any religion, no? Not only from Islam, even Christianity in history, leads to all of this violence. No? But we have to address the problem of historical injustice, as the mayor always discusses, and takes pain to discuss this also in Visayas and Luzon. Others only discuss this in Mindanao. Number two, you also have to look at the inequality. ARM is the poorest area. And instead of building them books, giving them books, building them schools, hospitals, panay baril at saka bala. No? Number three, really more dialogue, and federalism will actually address some of this. So ISIS and its influence on the whole world, yung global caliphate ideology, no, is serious. And I've exposed that during the BBL discussions. There is a small element, hindi po lahat. Hindi po lahat. Meron sa MILF na really after historical injustices, meron po talaga na gusto ng peace but they want a good settlement. Meron po iba na napakayaman kasi ng Mindanao but it's all going to Metro Manila. So I think Mayor Duterte will be the best person to address that because he talks to all of these people. And secondly, federalism will take some time, but acknowledging each region's strength will help solve all of this.
And then let's go to the follow-up question on Facebook. This is on Let's go to the next question. The follow-up should be, what is your stand on the BBL? If you were elected as president, you have said you would support the BBL, but Senator Cayetano, you've also taken a position that you would not. Is that correct?
Well, very similar ang position namin ni Mayor Duterte that an ideal BBL or an ideal autonomous region is preferred. But the problem, how is the rest of Mindanao? That's why federalism will address this better.
So these-
I have actually filed a bill for a Mindanao development plan together with the BBL. So sa akin, either ipass mo yung BBL with development plans for Region 9, 10, 11, 12, and Caraga, or federalism.
Thank you. So these three issues are connected in your head: security, the BBL. And on ISIS, guys, for the folks in the audience, ISIS is actually targeting you. They are the most, I would say, probably the most successful social media movement on Twitter. Let's go to the next one. And this connects to some of the things that you've said. Let's post the question. Let's go. Change the question, please. This next question connects to something that you said about how everyone is in the cities, right? And let me read it here. The full question is this: the population of the Philippines, as well as other countries in ASEAN, is expected to increase in concentrated urban areas. Currently, 47% of the ASEAN population is living in key urban areas. This percentage is expected to increase to 56% in 2030 and 67% in 2050. How should the government respond to urbanization to make sure that our cities are inclusive and livable? And the case in point is our transportation system, which I think you mentioned briefly. How do we live in these crowded cities? This is from Ateneo Youth Agenda. Mayor Duterte.
I was once asked, how do you solve the traffic problem of EDSA? There is none. It is not only EDSA, which is really overloaded. It's the entire Metro Manila. To save, maybe from further degradation for us Filipinos, is to improve on the economy. Really improve, maybe disperse and invite more investors. It's always money. It's infrastructure that's really lacking in our system. When I was in college, I had a professor who said that, economics is just the law of supply and demand. What we do not have, we import. What we have and they ask for it, we export. The only problem is that the businessmen, the investor would always look for the safest, the cheapest, and the fastest way of moving people and goods. That's about it. But we do not have the airport. Every passenger airplane and all other airplanes going to Manila, they land on Naya. Lahat. And that is why in coming here, and expected in going back, we were to hold the flight for 2 hours. Why? Because the skies of Manila was congested. With so many airplanes circling around making the final approach, and it would need about 2 hours for them to clear the way for us to take off and land safely. Now, we do not have one port, and we go export and import to one place. There's not enough roads. There's not enough facilities. They could have just also placed a single train, cargo train somewhere, just to move people. But if you do not have that equation, which is very important, and you do not disperse the industries, and you do not lend money, well, I think you have a dark future here. So everybody must stand. But I said mine is different, because I have been the mayor, I said, for 22 years, one-term congressman, one-term vice mayor to my daughter, yung namugbog ng sirip, yung babae na, we have to kind of understand that we need to disperse. We have to open ports in Visayas. And for those getting their goods from Mindanao, it's much more cheaper to import than to pay the cost of freight from Mindanao to Manila. That is really the problem. There is not enough infrastructures and to open market, probably the shortest way. We have to open Mindanao. We have to open the Visayas. And I said, let me dwell on something else. It's agriculture. You want to raise the economy. How do you raise the economy? You have to start with people, the small and medium. Okay, you have to borrow. We give loans. We do not give grants. But the problem I said is if you do not improve on the law and order, because most of that money will not be invested on real estate. It could not be into manufacturing. It's just what trading, small business. How do they thrive? Sa Visayas, sa Mindanao, you have to improve the law and order situation. Otherwise, even if you have the money, you'd get lost along the way. Either you are killed, money. Kagaya nito dito sa Maynila, yung mga bihayra, minsan pag-uwi dyan sa Bulacan, Pampanga, papuntang North, nawawala. Yung binili nila, pati yung may-ari, nawawala. Just simply kidnap and kill. What? Hindi ko matanggap itong mga ganito. That's why I said, baka have a lousy mouth. Tama si Dilima. So I might as well, I get too emotional about the oppression of your fellow men. That's about it, actually. I said, we'll just have to do something about the rest of the... Manila, on a long term, would no longer be a viable urban city. It's decaying. And the canals, you do not have the steros anymore. If meron man, it's really terribly clogged, and you cannot even see the waters moving. It's simply, by the way, I am for family planning. Ako, magpadidiretso ako. I am for family planning. I'm the only city mayor nagbibigay ng freely yung artificial contraceptives. Hindi ko ginagamit. Binibigay ko. Tawa-tawa na. I think that we should limit. Actually, but I do not advise if the girl is below 35. Yung iba, yung nabubuntis pati 40 anak na. Sabi ko, ka dito, I'll pay the, ang tawag yung tinatali dyan sa ligation. Hindi masyado ako, nalalimutan ko basta yung mga bagay na ayaw ko. Ligation. You can ask any of them. I paid him 5,000. Palagit ka. 2, bigay mo sa Dr. Triang iyo. And you take a rest for the day.
Just to validate mayor's statements, and I love being with mayors because they're well-grounded. In the Senate, Malacanang, parating statistics, big picture, but sometimes you forget you're not dealing with statistics, you're dealing with actual people. That's why you hear comments like, 2 million lang yan, eto, ganito, or hindi man fatal ang traffic, etc. Because they're not there on the ground. The mayors are. And because my wife is a mayor, and we have an agreement that we never sleep apart together, and we try to keep it. So when she goes to the World Cities Forum every year, ako tagadala ng bag niya, and I listen. And all major cities around the world, or 80-90%, already have the authority for the urban problems, including transportation, including yung water treatment and everything. No? Tayo na lang yung highly centralized. So if we cannot even fix the Legazpi to La Union PNR, which we just renewed the 50-year franchise, no? How can you think we can do the subway here? And if we can't do the subway here, how can we fix the transportation in Davao, in Cebu, in Zamboanga? That's why madalas kaming bumalik sa federalism or regional development. There's always an argument that how can we let them bid it out? For example, the Cebu Airport, dito binid sa Metro Manila. Sabi na, wala kasing qualified doon, walang tao sa Cebu. And then when do we start? But if NEDA now says, we have 2 trillion in PPPs, hatiin na natin per region yan, get their planning people together, in 5 years, you'll have the experts there. Pero ngayon, bawat administration, USEC, ASEC, resign sila. They go back to the companies they work for or abroad. Wala na naman. So 2 years na naman bago yung PPP, bago itong lahat ng JICA studies and everything. We're very weak in planning. And one reason why we're weak is that it's really heavily centralized. Tapos demandahan pa ng demandahan. No? So part really of taking care of new cities and the surrounding rural is to give more power to them. Last point, no? Mayor and I were in Nueva Ecija yesterday, and a group of professionals met us, mostly doctors. Sabi na, Mayor, first time namin mag-join sa politika. So senior doctors, no? Some own the hospital. And you know, they asked us questions, and we told them, imagine if you had a regional government, then you can influence them on policies of health, education, transportation. But right now, what? You see your senators pag election. You see the president pag bumisita for 5 minutes. But if it was a regional government having 70%, you just leave to the national government, national defense, pananalapi, yung nationalism, sinabi niyo kanina, but you give these local problems to the authorities. Even me, I'm a senator, 23 years na po ako sa gobyerno, 40 years na po si Mayor. I think we're the tandem with the most experience. You ask me to build roads in a city, the Mayor will know more. Siya yung on the ground eh. But yet, you let people like me in the Senate and in NEDA and in the DOTC take care of this. When it's people like him who we should give the authority to. So it's about time for Part 2 of the Local Government Code leading to federalism.
Okay, so we will go. Actually, this seems to be a common theme through all of what you've stated today in your platform. Let's go to the question that's gotten the second most number of likes in the last 24 hours on our Facebook page. And I'm going to tweak this slightly because your platform actually addressed it. It says this oh gosh, the same group. They mobilized. Ateneo Task Force, you are out in force on social media from traffic congestion and its many negative effects. No, let's go back. Yes. Okay, go ahead to the next one. Yeah. This is from Carolina Gracia and Teria Melia. What are your greatest accomplishments in the previous government posts that have proven your competency? You've actually spoken about all of this. Why do you think you're qualified to be the next president or vice president? You've answered that as well. Let me twist it one last stop. We have 4 choices, at least, for president and vice president. How would you assess the possible choices we have, and why would you say you were the best choice?
I'm a very generous man. Unahin mo na muna sila. You assess, evaluate, and think of them only. The 4 of them. Unahin mo na. But at the end of the day, and that would be something like a week after, or a week before the election, rather. If you want to think of me, and I'll think of you.
Wag na ako, ma'am, pero imagine Mar Rojas, Grace po, ano pangalan ng isa? VP Binay, and Mayor Duterte. Kaharap po siya. All of them saying, umalis ka na sa Pilipinas kung hindi patay ka. Kanino sila susunod? Imagine secretaries like Secretary Abaya, and the 3 of them say, you better shape out or get out of here. Sa kanino sila makikinig? And imagine NEDA, who wants to bid everything here or DOTC or whatever. Who among the presidents will say, you know what? Put DOT, Department of Tourism in Cebu, put DNR in Davao, put DA in Nueva Ecija, Nueva Vizcaya, put DOTC in Clark, no? Who? And lastly, who among them will say that they will resign if they can't fix the Philippines in 6 months? So me, medyo klaro kung bakit.
Is that actually realistic? I mean, on social media, again, what we see is that
crime?
promise seems that some of the reactions I've seen is that it shows that Mayor Duterte is not realistic to promise that he could fix the Philippines in 6 months.
I'm not this every bullet. It's not the cradle of... but I was able to do it. Pagka-presidente ako, pag sinabi mo, ang ina ka, huminto ka. Huminto ka. Ako ang presidente, pag sinabi ko sa customs, stop. Stop ka. Ihulog kita niya. Pag sinabi ko sa BIR, stop it, stop people, stop it. And to the police, well, hindi masyado yung army. Because yung army, yung mga tao nila, they do not go out of the camps unless they are expressly told to do so by the camp commander. But the police, they go out at night, daytime, their ships, and yeah, they go about. Why? Balik tayo nga sa 14,000. Ang driver ko, he has 3 daughters, 2 college, sa college, 1 high school. Every time an enrollment comes along, he borrows money from Upsilon. I ask him, what's your take-home pay? The 2,700. Well, how do you supposed to send your children to school? Walk, rain or shine? How do you place the food on the table? That's why I said, unahin ko because I have to take control of our country. It's in disorder. Every facet of life, the Filipino, be the sidewalks, the highways, parking everywhere, I have to take control. So sabi ko sa kanila, dublihin ko ang sweldo ninyo. Army, pati, why? Do not begrudge them. You know why? They're the very persons that we sent to the mouths of hell. And they would go there to Mampasapano without any whimper or complaint. Kita mo? So that's why I said, maybe kung namatay in the performance of duty, you'll have something like 2 to 3 years, same salary. But shape up. Kayong mga police, especially shape up. Go out of crime. Kung ngayon pa lang, is there still much time really to improve on everything? I know that it would work hardships. It would be a life-changing thing because what they enjoy today is their salaries which is really pittance compared to what they get from drugs. Pero sabi ko, magkahiyaan tayo dito. Sorry na lang. Sorry talaga. And I would say to the people, ayaw kong magmura. Father, may I ask my pardons to you. Deepest apologies po. Yung si Popo, stray bullet lang yun. It was a ricochet actually. What was I complaining was what was being done to the Filipino people. When you live in a nipa hut, do not throw a banquet to invite everybody in the barangay. Sabi, you have to close everything. You have to, I will not, you know, Maria, take it from me now. Kung sakali lang, if by the grace of God I make it to the Pasig, if I do not make it, I'll swim. Pagka, you won't see me taking my oath of office in Luneta. I will take my oath of office in the office of the President. I will invite no one, except maybe my family stood by me all the time. And generals and the diplomatic corps. But your invitation will only say, drinks will be served, and that will be colas. Soda. Tubig, kung may ulcer kayo. Beto magpapakain dyan, puro busog na yung mga ambasador dyan. Yayaman niya. Punta ka nung kumain kayo muna, tapos mag-usap tayo. And that's it. Well, hindi ako madrama na tao. Really. Hindi lang kasi kayo taga Davao. I do not go. For what? For 22 years. Hanggang ngayon, magtanong kayo ng taga Davao dito, pick up lang ako. I do not buy luxury. Yung mga consulos, Avanza, dapat 700. May discount pa. And yet, in Mindanao, pag mag-meeting kami dyan, Suburban, Montero, Land Cruiser, mayor ng Davao, pick up. Ever since, pick up. Wala talaga, I do not allow stupendos.
So, Mayor Duterte, your track record actually stands for yourself. And the reason why you're being considered, why you're moving up very fast is because of your track record. But some worrisome statements you've made, and this I would also like to ask Senator Cayetano. You've said that you would become a dictatorship to make it happen, that you've killed people. I guess if you become president, you will be in charge of upholding the law.
There will be no abuses.
Okay.
And even if I let go of the military and the police to fight crime and drugs, you know, it's good that Gloria Arroyo raised it to the level of a national security threat. That would give me the power now to, not really the power, but maybe the power to use the military. And maybe I can, if there's a mayor or a chief of police tainted with drugs, but I'll overhaul. From chief of police down to the last, wala akong pakialam kung alam mo o hindi. Because I don't give a shit. Get out.
So basically, you're saying these past statements are rhetoric for you, hyperbole. You're looking at Cold War deterrence. Is this correct, Senator
Well,
Cayetano?
thank you for the opportunity to clarify all of that. Kasi ang problema, we're a soundbite society, no? So except for social media, Rappler, maybe radio, on TV, how can you explain the plans of the mayor and his character and persona? 1 hour speech in 1 minute. Panay tut ang pinapakita ng TV, di ba, yung censorship, no? So, but let me explain. Una dun sa 6 months, no? This is a true story. When I was still a congressman, may kumatok sa bahay because we don't live in a subdivision. Tricycle driver, sinampal daw siya ng pulis. So sabi ko dun sa nagbantay ng bahay, sa mga kapitbahay, habulin niyo. Hinabol nila, nagtapon ng something sa, hindi kisame, sa alulod, no? Dun sa drainage. So inakyat nila, it was drugs. So we brought him to the police. He turned out to be a policeman. And suddenly there were a lot of witnesses, even yung sakla sa patay, siya pala ang humihingi doon pagkagabi. And we found out that every time there's a drug test in a police station, let's say Parañaque, they'd pay their kapitan to move to Taguig. When it happens, he'd pay, he'd move to Makati. And there's 2 guys, no? You know the barangay captain, he called all the pushers kasi kilala naman nila eh. Siguro mga 30 yung nag-attend. Tapos sabi nung barangay captain, write down on paper that you commit that you will stop selling drugs. Alam mo, even if that's unconstitutional, it's unheard of, all of them, they wrote. Kasi takot nila eh. You know, a week and a half later, naka-bail siya. Pinapatawag nung kapitan yung mga pusher, wala nang pumunta eh. The reality is, when we're in Subic, we follow the law. When we're in Japan, we follow the law. When we're in Singapore, we follow the law, di ba? But when we're in the Philippines, it's the law of the jungle. So, it's political will eh. The mayor did not promise that he'll fix all the problems in 6 months. Sabi niya, peace and order, feeling safe, drugs, 6 months. Yung iba naman, he gave a better time frame. Sabi niya, nation building, 2 to 4 years. Ang federalism, it will take some time. Now, alam mo yung sound bites kasi, lumalabas kasi sa TV, the mayor will suspend the writ of habeas corpus. The mayor will padlock Congress. I've been observing him, and we've been friends. My sister is here, Senator Pia, and he's helped my sister in 2004 and ganyan. You know, si Mayor wants to communicate to people that he will give his life. If he tells you he will do something, he will find a way to do it. But all of us are so used to politicians who promise and don't do it. That's why si Mayor, dinudugtungan niya na if it doesn't, like halimbawa, habeas corpus, I heard what he said. Sabi niya, if all of my techniques doesn't work, I will go there. Hindi niya sinabing, from day 1, I suspend the writ of habeas corpus. Sinabi niya, Congress, kung ayaw mo ng pork barrel, kakandado ko kayo, I'll send tanks to you. Kung ayaw niyo ng pork barrel, ayaw niyo makinig sa akin. So it's his way to telling them, you're serious. I mean, he can answer himself if I'm correct, no? But he never said that on day 1, I will, federalism. He didn't say federalism or I'll send you tanks. Sabi niya, he'll create a commission. It will go around the country. It will build support. It will talk of the different forms of federalism. So, that's why all I can ask for sa atin, know his character and listen to him. If you still have doubts, go to Davao. Did he ever act like a dictator in Davao? Go to Davao, no? And, you know, it's really different. I mean, I've been spending a lot of time there, and it's not a dictatorship, it's respect.
So let me just, though, I know we have to go to break now for radio and television, but can I just follow up? This is the last on security, and then we will open it up more to Facebook, and we'll open it to the audience when we come back from break. Mayor Duterte, have you ever brought any policemen? Have you brought anyone to court or held justices? Have you filed complaints against prosecutors and judges who may be incompetent in handling crime cases? Have you penalized any law enforcer for not doing their job or for doing too much, like extrajudicial killings?
Yes, but hindi yung about na. Pinupunta ko because it's not within my control to admonish even judges. It's a different department. But many a times, I would go to the regional office and close the door and just give her or give him a piece of my mind. Kasi yung mga national kasi hindi talaga kaya. But in my city, there's a 72-hour limit. Everything, clearance permit must be released within 72 hours. That's about 4 days.
But do you protect those people who are innocent or poor?
Of course. I'm the only city mayor who has a team of lady lawyers to assist in the litigation and in pagtulong. A lawyer for each abused woman, abandoned woman. And we are the first, we have been the first city to pass the Women's Code.
Understood.
That's gender office there serves the
But let's
purpose.
go to what Human Rights Watch says, which is it is the poor who are the ones who are mistaken for drug pushers in Davao. Is that correct?
If at all, pag sinabi nila 1,000, maybe may siya siguro dyan. We all commit mistakes. It's not done purposely. But I've yet to hear a person executed or killed summarily extrajudicial style. Ako ayaw ko kasi ako prosecutor. And mind you, when I was yung before Marcos, it was not the ombudsman. It was known as the Tanod Bayan. I was one of the two Tanod Bayan prosecutors for Mindanao. I should know when I go to prison or not. Hindi ko ginagawa yung magtalian mo. That's, parang hindi ka naman lalaki na patayin mo yung tao na nakatali sa likod. Bigyan mo ng armas konti.
Okay, thank you.
Marami
Mayor.
namang ano dyan na
We'll come back.
lumaban ka.
Sige ho, sir. We have to go on break now. So we're going to, for DZRH, MBC, and PTV4 and their partner stations, we'll take a short break. We're going to be right back.
All right.
Ngayon, di pa rin siya nasosolusyonan. So that's why this was a question raised by the students in Tawi-Tawi earlier. And ang feedback ng mga estudyante, medyo disappointed with the answers because generic answers give them the feeling na it's not going to be a priority in the platform of government.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. Sige, magbasa tayo ng mga pinost online. So some of the reactions from our forum. From Glenn Revillas. Sino yun? Taas ang kamay. Okay. Glenn Revillas, nako, baka isolationalism naman pala ang matutupad nito kung walang diniscuss na foreign policies. Okay. From Jan Balon. Dito ba siya? Jan Balon? Okay. Sabi niya, Duterte actually didn't expound on his plan of action regarding the alleged breeding of ISIS in ARMM. Just talking it out. I think yun yung sinabi ni Terry na feedback from our movers in Tawi-Tawi na parang priority pa rin ba ang BBL? From Ecofania, is he here? oppression, hindi niya alam na oppression rin yung ginagawa niyang pag-overstep sa due processes. So very strong statements. From Edric Lucky. Sorry, but you don't... Cedric? Sorry, but... San siya? Nandito siya? Sorry, but you don't fight evil with evil. Killing a person, whether guilty or innocent, will never be right. Hashtag the leader I want. So if you have any other reactions, tweet us with hashtag PageVote. After this gap, you will have a chance to ask your questions to Mayor Duterte and Senator Cayetano. Balik tayo dun sa una kong tanong kanina. Are you guys here? Gising pa kayo? Yes? Okay. Yung question is, sino ang the leader you want this 2016 and why? After hearing the talks, our first batch of talks, who is the leader you want and why? Sinong willing i-defend yung kanilang answers? Sino? Yung mga hindi pa nagsasalita para may mas marami tayo. May answers kayo? No. Okay. So, sino yung the leader you want?
Dia.
Wala? Yes. Introduce yourself. It's a reaction. I know. Yeah, it's a reaction.
Okay, share ko lang. I don't know if you're familiar with my face. We're responsible for the viral videos for Mayor Duterte and Senator Alan Cayetano. Yung takbo with Jimmy Bondoc, Luke Mijares, Paulo Santos. Gusto ko lang mag-share sa inyo ng personal experience namin. Dahil one of the dinners kasi, sabi ni Mayor sa amin, hindi ko alam kung paano namin kayo mapapasalamatan. Kasi hindi po kami binabayaran doon sa ginagawa namin voluntary work, yung mga viral videos po. Nobody paid us to do it. We did it because we really believe doon sa pinaglalaban nilang tunay na pagbabago. And then the Mayor said, candidly, hindi ko alam kung paano ko kayo masusuklian sa ginawa ninyo. Pero ganito na lang. Pag nanalo ko, hindi kayo mapapahiya sa akin. He was the first person, a politician, who made me cry because of that.
All right, thank you. So yung others, please tweet, post, hashtag PageVote and hashtag the leader I want. Back to you, Maria.
Okay, thanks so much, guys. We're going back on air. Oh, you have to let Representative Romualdez through. To those watching on DZRH MBC radio stations and to those on Media ng Bayan, PTV4, welcome back. On stage, we've got Senator Alan Peter Cayetano for Vice President and Mayor Rudy Duterte for President. The two candidates, hashtag last man standing, who are facing the forum. Let's put up the first question from social media, from Facebook that's come up. This one for the audience, I think, is the internet. What concrete solutions would you implement to fix the slow internet speeds? From Jameski, Romersky, Van der Lip.
Political will lang yan eh. Lahat ng excuses ng gobyerno kung bakit mabagal internet natin, masyado daw malaki Pilipinas, Indonesia is bigger than us. Masyado daw maraming island, Malaysia and Indonesia. But let me be very frank with you. That's one of my admiration kay Mayor. It's very strict. No donations from people with contracts in government. The truth is, in the country, people who donate and are regulated by government nominate their own regulators. So whether it's toll, whether it's the trains, whether it's the internet, may solusyon. It's a work in progress. We're not promising heaven and earth. Sabi nga ni Mayor, don't overpromise. But yung kulela tayo sa speed. And lastly, Maria, may I just mention, no? Some people think that pang Facebook lang or pang Rappler lang yung internet. No? Alam mo, yung tubig will be a problem in the next 20, 30 years. And pag mabilis ang internet mo, naproprogram mo yon na yung leakage, meron monitors yan. So in countries that are more modern and mabilis yung internet, there are systems of monitoring gas leaks, water leaks, oil, what you call this, through these tunnels, etc. Nakakabit sa internet yan. Commerce, nakakabit din sa internet. So the internet speed is not only because our netizens and those with smartphones want to communicate better, it also has an effect on our health, our environment, our economy. So I have full faith that the mayor's plan of not more than 10 signatures of anything, not more than 3 days or 40 days pag national na kailangan matapos na, and the political will. No? And I've been in Congress for more than 15 years. So I think the laws are clear. Talagang yung implementation lang.
Mayor Duterte, do you want to respond?
I have to give it to you straight. I cannot give you a very educated answer on that. Kasi hindi ako nagpapatawa. Hindi ako marunong gumamit. Kaya yung Facebook ko, wala yan. Maniwala pala kayo. Wala akong alam dyan. Yung cellphone ko yung pindot. I don't even know how to open. Tamad na talaga ako. I'll ask my daughter for what's there to know in the Facebook. Wala na, hindi ako marunong nahihilo ako. Pag gumagano ako, nahihilo na ako. I get dizzy. So, kind of a very regimented life ago. Not because the inadequacies of old age. I cannot attend to all. And I cannot, my education this time of my life, medyo tama-tama lang.
Okay. Do you agree that it is important for the future?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Education and the future. Kaya nga yung paano pabilisin, you can confirm this with Attorney Salilima, nung Vice President ng Globe. Sinabi ko kasi sa kanila, I want 911 parang sa sine. Gusto nila dadaan pa ako ng protocol na 0 and they will give me 11 something. Hindi. Kagaya sa sine, 911. Nag-uusap kami ni yung abogado nila. Sabi ko, ibigay mo yung 911 o tumbahin ko yung tower 3 ninyo. Mamili ka. O, sabi niya, sige, ibigay na. Ako, pala, sabi ko, smart. Smart, follow Globe. Okay, in Davao, you don't have to go to this crazy thing about 0 na. Sabi ko, ayaw ko yan. Gusto ko para sa 911. What is your emergency? Fire? Mayroon. Health? Ako lang may ambulansya dito sa Pilipinas, may incubator.
Okay.
It's a case of a childbirth, ang ambulansya susundo sa iyo, may incubator na.
Okay. We have to take...
Maria, I stand corrected. Bilisan nila internet o tumba lahat ng tower nila.
Let's go to this question because this is the top question in 24 hours. It received more than 283 likes. Next one. This one popped up. We'll go to that. Let's go to this. We got to ask, will you side with marginalized sectors, even in cases where they're and you guys clap for this question. Sige na nga. All right, here we go. This question has gotten the most number of likes in the last 24 hours. Will you side with marginalized sectors, even in cases where their interests clash with the interests of your allies and backers? For example, will you press your corporate funders on fair labor practices or your landed allies on agrarian reform, simbahang lingkod ng bayan?
Well, simple actually. The marginal buyers, I said most of them, 70% of the poor are in the agriculture business. So, same, you have to build terminals, and very important, the small and medium enterprises. You have to give loan money, lend money. But you must first develop the security of the places. In Metro Manila, it's not only of security as vis-a-vis with the law and order. It's the security of the people, health and everything, pollution. So that is why there's a lot to do about just being marginalized because dito wala ka namang mataniman. So if you give the marginalized, that is why I have this quandary, moral quandary now whether to extend the Pantawid. But my take is it should.
But will you
Kasi
stand up against your financial backers if it goes against their interests?
I have this standing order. Kaya nga ako sabi ko, I'm addressing now myself to the entire Philippines. Di ako nakakaalis. Ngayon lang, wala akong pera. May pera ako sarili ko for my old age, for my hospitalization, if I get cancer, diabetes, hypertension. But that's my money na kulang na. I do not accept, sinabi ko, I've been very urgent about this. Ayaw ko tumatanggap sa mga negosyanteng may kontrata o business with government. I would rather lose, Maria. Okay na ako. I have never tasted any defeat in any election. If ngayon ibigay sa akin ng Panginoong Diyos, okay lang. But I do not want to be compromised. Kaya ako hanggang ano na lang dito. I cannot go to other places because I cannot afford the airplanes. Wala akong pera. At sasabi ko sa, do not accept money. I have nothing against them, actually. Ako naman, if you do it right, legal and everything, it's okay. But may I just add, just give me about 1.5 minutes. Alam mo dito, sa Manila, even, nag-apply ka ako sa ng simple train. Alam mo dyan sa mga opisina na applyan, it's Samsung is doing, I'll give it to you. Sila yung nagpumunta doon and made the offer. Sabi ko, sige, project study. Yung mga application nila hanggang has been there for almost 1 year. Kung ako ang presidente, I'll get you as a secretary of what? Then I'll just give you 40 days to act. Unless you need more time to conduct ocular inspections or things that you have to inspect, we need an ample time to do it. But ordinary, it binds the local government. Ako, bigyan ko kayo ng 3 days for departments, any department for that matter. Your result, approve or disapprove, should be out by about 30 days. You cannot comply with it. Maraming Pilipino ngayon na mauutak, nandyan, lalakad sa daan, nangailangan ng trabaho. I'll give them the secretaryship. Umalis ka, if you cannot follow me, kung magpresidente ako, hindi malin kayo maniwala, I'd either alis ako o alis kayo. That's as simple as that. 30 days. Why do you need one goddamn year to do it? Nabuang ka ba? Nakadroga kayo dito sa opisina ninyo? You must be doing nothing. Sinabi ko, that's how, wala lang kasi panahon eh. Kasi from peace to order to nation building, which would include minus the ISIS. I do not talk to terrorists. Pero ibahin mo itong kila Murad, these are really the historical injustice that was also perpetrated against the Moro people. We have to correct it. That's why we're coming up something. Pagka wala, the other alternative is violence. Violence. That's why kami kung ano na lang, pagkapang na lang kami, just looking for the rightful one. That's why as a nation building, it should be different from MI, MN, NPA. Hindi ko kaya yan. I was 70s, I was first listened to Maria Sison. I am now 70 years old. I've been talking to the commission. Ano? 70s, I was student, 70. May apo na ako. Anak ko nga na mayor. Ano pa bang gusto na? What do we do with this fact? Kaya yan, that's my despair. Lumalabas yung, but excuse ako dyan. Hindi naman totoo yung mga muragan.
Okay.
Byproducts of a wild.
We need to give one from this audience. Who's going to run up to the mic and ask one question because we're running out of time? Who wants it? Who can match Duterte?
Hello.
Oh, someone just ran and it's a girl. Gentlemen, go ahead. Tell us your name and your question.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Kat Petilia and I'm taking up International Studies, major in European. Okay, so as you have been proclaiming for the past hour and a half, you believe you can improve the country within the first 6 months of your term if elected. What are your proposed solutions to alleviate traffic and improving public transportation? Because realistically speaking, improving the economy and federalism would take such a long time. What would you offer the Filipino people within those 6 months as you have been proclaiming?
Well, I'll return to the right to walk out at night and use the public roads safely. That you can ride without being held up, without being killed, without being brought to a certain corner and get to be raped. I will return to you, most especially, I will deliver you from the freedom of fear. Pati na sa mga gobyerno. Pati yan yung mistrust ninyo and sa the bigotry sometimes to the extreme against government, especially the police. I will see to it that the police will serve you. Sa Davao naman, wala sa awa ng Diyos, wala namang abusadong police. Meron yung to the extreme, pero yan, ang sabi ko ay patay. Because of, sabihin nila ng salvage. Maniwala pala kayo. Istorya mo lang yan. Dito sa totoo. Don't I'm telling you, it's not really, nakakalaki-lalaki naman yung gano'n na gawin mo. Even kaming mga human to humans. You think you can solve what ails this country by killing? Kung yun ang proposition mo, you will bring about peace and order by just killing. Is that really the solution? Or is it because of poverty and forced into drugs because that's the easiest thing to get money, but very, very corrosive. And look at the police now. Malaki ang trabaho niyan. Puro may armas yan, puro may init ng ulo. And I have to deal with everybody. Especially dito sa gobyerno. If I cannot reform government, Risa, there can be no development. Pag hindi ko na-reforma ang gobyerno, if the corruption still exists, in the matter of the gridlock dyan sa bureaucracy, if you still have to pay for your licenses, if you still have to pay for your mga mga dokumento ninyo, birth certificate, especially the poor, tatamaan talaga. Kaya sabi ko, the extreme, the option, it's just an option to obey the law. Yung mga talagang sa itaas, so bilhin mo na, kaya mo. Dito sa baba, devil may care sila. But what's being squeezed in the middle, yung mga tao na walang kumpare na mayor, walang kaibigan na general, walang kaibigan na judge, these are the poor Filipinos. Diyan ako nga galit. Because it is this class of people, many, almost 99, are really poor, defenseless, helpless. Yan sila.
It's not true that you cannot do anything in 6 months. Let me first clarify, no? Ang sinabi ni Mayor Duterte, drugs, peace and order, 6 months. The rest, it will take time. But there's also so much you can do in 6 months. For example, agriculture. 70% ng employment in the country nakatali sa agriculture. Some of the poorest sa agriculture is coconut farmers. We have more than 100 billion pesos in the Coco Levy Fund, but politicians cannot make up their mind, and Malacanang cannot make up their mind what to do with it. So the farmers are suffering. Coco Coir, one product of coconut, is in demand not only in the Philippines but in China. We're supplying less than 10%. Virgin coconut oil and all these plants. No. Secondly, we're spending 60 2 billion on conditional cash transfer. It's a good project, but we're only spending 3 billion on small and micro enterprises. Of the 62 billion sa conditional cash transfer, ang hindi sinabi sa inyo, 5 billion is administrative cost. So just by moving it to the barangays and municipalities and tying it up with livelihood, may magagawa ka na. 5 billion masasave mo. 5, 6. Sino po dito sa Lasal, no? Lasalites, business. You go to the bank now, you'll get between 7 to 12% interest per annum. You go to any island, any mountain, any field in the Philippines, may 5, 6. Ibig sabihin, nagbabayad yung tao. Tricycle driver, jeepney driver, vendor, no? You know how much 5, 6 is? You borrow 5,000, then you pay either 30 or 60 days, depende sa lugar. Iba-iba, no? If it's 1 month, 5,000 utang mo, 200 a day. If it's 2 months, it's 100 pesos a day. So 120 to 240% ang interest. That's why walang trickle down eh. That's why wala sa baba eh, no? Moving of departments. There's this one company, it had 300 employees in Cebu, a few dozens in Makati, and a couple hundred Quezon City. They were shopping around for a city that will give them incentives. Kaya daw nila i-move yung group of companies nila. They did it just like that. When the city of Taguig gave them the incentive, 14 floors ang pinuno nila, 300 from Cebu, nilipat nila sa Metro Manila. 58 companies followed from Makati to Taguig. There are companies in China that are overheating because of the labor cost dahil meron silang mandatory increase. At yung iba nilang incentives is about to expire. So, yes, 6 months for the economy and for many problems like traffic, no, is not enough time. But it's also not true that wala kang magagawa. The Mindanao Railway, nasa NEDA since 2010. It's gathering dust. Phase 1 is ready for bidding, 2012. So, yung sinasabi po ni Mayor, you might not be able to connect it right away. I was the same, no, when I first heard him na, sabi ko, Mayor, so what kung 3 days o 10 pirma o 40 days? But when I looked at the JBIC Transportation Master Plan, we have it pala eh. So all the best practices and the plans, it's in our offices, but it's gathering dust. So let me just transmit to you very sincerely, no? Political will talaga. You'll see things moving, basta't may political will talaga.
We're running out of time. So unfortunately, we are out of time because we're going to have to go to breaks. Let us say thank you to Senator Cayetano and to Mayor Duterte. Please, everyone here, can you stay tuned? Because when we come back from break, we're going to hear from 30 minutes from Nery Colmenares, Congressman Colmenares, Congressman Martin Romualdez, and Attorney Lorna Capunan. Hashtag the leader I want. Let's give the last men standing tandem a big round of applause. Thank you. We'll be back.
Hello. All right.
Welcome back to our viewers and our listeners on the DZRH MBC radio stations and the Media ng Bayan television stations, including PTV4. Welcome back. We've just listened to Senator Alan Peter Cayetano and Mayor Rudy Duterte on hashtag The Leader I Want Forum, last man standing, who came in and faced the crowd. On stage now, some of the major issues that will be tackled in the next 6 years will be handled by our legislators, the senators. On stage, you have 3 veterans in the field of politics. They know the way things work, substantive on their own. First up, you have Representative Nery Colmenares, a human rights lawyer and political detainee during the Marcos regime. Please give him a hand. Next, Attorney Lorna Capunan, recognized as one of the leading litigation lawyers in the country because of her high-profile cases. She is, give her a hand also, please. And finally, on the left, Representative Martin Romualdez. Sorry for the slip, Martin. They will each have 5 minutes to lay out their platform. Why do they want your vote, right? Then after the 5 minutes, there are mics. You can also come up. Then we will open the panel for questions. We will be live on traditional media for 30 minutes. Please, let's start with Representative Colmenares.
Yes, magandang hapon po sa inyo at I'm glad to be invited in this event. 5 minutes platform, let's see. Yung trabaho ng isang legislator for me, one, of course, it's the crafting of laws, the legislative action and the policy advocacy. And people thought, hanggang dun lang. But actually, there's a second, and it's the oversight function of a legislator. And then the third is, actually, invento ko na lang to, the special functions of a legislator, like, for example, in this case, budget. So anong plataforma ko as a legislator, as a senator, for example, dito sa mga issues na ito? I'm not the president. My only role as a senator is to push for better laws and push for policy changes, and of course, in the oversight function. Sa budget po, ang unang gagawin for me, at ito ang binabantayan namin for a long period of time sa House of Representatives. Alam niyo, bantay tayo ng bantay ng nakaw ni Mayor, 10 million, 20 million nakaw ni Governor, but sa budget, hundreds of millions and billions are in fact lost. That is why for me, isang plataforma dapat na i-push ng isang legislator, isang transparent and accountable budgeting process at may involvement dapat ang mamamayan doon sa budgeting process na yon. Marami pong perang nawawaldas at nananakaw pag hindi binabantayan ng budget. Yan po ang ginawa ko na sa House of Representatives at yan din po ang plataforma ko doon sa Kongreso na maging people's budget ang pinapasa natin taon-taon. Second po, oversight function. Nakita niyo naman po siguro sa Kongreso, may mga fina-file kaming resolution to investigate na normally hindi pinapaimbestigahan sa Kongreso for a long period of time. Whether presidente ka man, whether malaki kang kumpanya, whether ano ka mang klase ng political entity or economic entity, the moment we believe na ikaw ay unjustly impose ng rates, for example, like in the case of Maynila, ng Meralco, we will conduct investigations in our capacity for oversight function. We pass these laws, and if these laws are not followed by various sectors in society, then there must be investigation and recommendation on the executive on how to go about it. So ganon din doon sa oversight function. Policy making and legislative. Ang unang tanong sa isang member ng Senado at Kongreso, and even the President for that matter, ay ang issue ng kahirapan. Para sa akin po, ang issue ng kahirapan should be dealt with by all public officials, whether executive or in the legislative. Sa akin, ang aking plataforma po dito, two-pronged economic strategy. The first is genuine agrarian reform. Para sa akin, ang isang genuine agrarian reform is not merely a social justice tool, it is also a development tool. No country in the world, tingin ko in my opinion, no country can develop without genuine agrarian reform. At ang isang plataforma ko sa Genuine Agrarian Reform, dapat subsidize ng gobyerno ang agrarian reform. Libreng pamamahagi ng lupa sa magsasaka, gobyerno dapat ang magbayad ng lupa. Like most countries around the world, gobyerno ang nagbayad ng lupang ito. In the same manner that government spends hundreds of billions of pesos for roads and bridges that lead to nowhere, government must also spend for a genuine agrarian reform. Pag pinabayaran mo sa magsasaka ang land reform, katulad ng CARP ngayon, isang bagyo lang yan, tumba lahat ng palay niya, goodbye land reform na yan. Isang anak niya lang madala sa ospital, wala siya pambayad sa ospital, hindi na po yan makakabayad ng amortisasyon. That is my platform with regards to land reform. Second, industrialization. And for me, this is something new for, I guess, many senatorial candidates because para sa akin, industrialization is a must for us to develop. What do I mean by this? Industrialization para sa akin, para lang maintindihan, is buhos suporta at kapital ang gobyerno sa lokal na industriya at lokal na negosyo. Yan po ang aking paniwala doon. What is the problem here? We do not produce what we need. Kaya kami nag-react doon dati sa APEC is because this. Ang sabi ng Pilipinas, dapat we should produce what we need. Ang sabi ng ibang bansa, no. You don't produce what you need. Produce what we rich countries need. You produce the sugar, the abaca, the copra, and all these raw materials, and allow us to produce what you need. The electric fan, the microphone, the camera, and the air conditioner, and the cars. Lugi po tayo dyan. For me, there must be industry in the Philippines. Hindi po tayo unlad. Hanggat hindi, kahit pako man lang po, hindi natin ma-produce. Paano ka unlad? Pako nga hindi mo ma-produce eh. We should have heavy industries para sa akin, steel industry, and medium manufacturing industry. We must have mechanized agriculture. So sa akin po, iyon po ang isang plataforma ko po. And if we succeed in this industrialization, the path to industrialization para sa akin, thousands and thousands of factories can sprout all over the country and provide employment. Employment, para sa akin po, yung strategy ng gobyerno na foreign investor-led economic strategy is wrong. We have been doing that for so many years now. All presidents who went abroad, every time they arrive in the country, they would say, well, I brought with me $100 million worth of investment, $1 billion of investment. Mula pa ata ng panahon ni Marcos yan. Umunlad ba tayo? Hindi naman tayo umangat eh. Para sa amin, of course, investors will be there will be trade, but the main engine of growth is national industrialization when the Filipino people will have, say, steel industry, for example, or we will have the manufacturing industry as a medium form of industrialization and mechanized agriculture, of course. On the short-term side, my platform would be isang issue ngayon for me, pension reform is very important. Ang pension ngayon hindi na talaga viable, hindi nakakabuhay ang pension, not only SSS, even GSIS needs a 2,000 peso increase as far as we calculated. Barangay Pension Fund, there must be pension for all barangay officials who work in government for 15, 19 years. May diskriminasyon po sa barangay. I'm a government official, they're government officials. Pero pag may nangyari na, after 3 years, in my stint in Congress, even if hindi na ako manalo sa sunod kong termino, may pension po ako as congressman. Pero sila, 9 years sila in Congress, ni 5 po wala sila pong makukuha ang pension. Last na lang po, this is my ending. Taxation reform. Sa akin po, ang taxation natin po dito napakataas. Malaking laban na po nito sa Kongreso. 1987 po, ang ating 1987 pa actually, ang 500,000 pesos is taxed at 32%. 2015 na po ngayon, ang tax rate po ng 500,000 annual income is still 32%. Government, for me, government deviously refused to recalculate the tax para mapeg siya sa inflation. Bumaba na ang value ng pera, tumaas na lahat ng bilihin, ganun pa rin ang tax rate. So para sa akin po, ang reform sa taxation is a must. Kaya nag-file po ako ng bill recently at tinanong ko ang Philippine Statistics Office, sabi ko, ang 500,000 pesos noong 1987, magkano siya ngayon? Ang sagot po nila, it's 2.7 million pesos. So yung bill na final ko po,
2.7 million, yan ang itax mo ng 30%. Pero yung 500,000 pesos annual income, kumikita ka lang ng 42 mil kada buwan, you must be taxed at 10%. Pangalawa po, sabi ng research namin sa Ibon Foundation, ang 30,000 pesos is the living wage. Ibig sabihin, hindi ka naman mayaman. Ikaw ay dissenting sweldo lang ang 30,000 pesos. Enough for you to have to send your kids to school. Pag magkasakit, madala mo sa ospital. Dissenting living wage ang 30,000. The moment you tax 30,000 pesos, hindi na siya living wage. Magiging 25 na lang siya or 26,000. Doon sa bill po, doon sa pinaglalabanan namin income tax reform bill sa Kongreso, ang second component po ng bill ko ay lahat ng kumikita ng 30,000 pesos a month should be exempted from personal income tax. Kasi po, hindi na siya dapat tinatax. In fact, sabi ko sa BIR, bakit kayo nagsuscrutinize ng million, in fact, 4 million taxpayers pay 30,000 or less dito sa atin? Scrutinize niya 4 million, ano di wala na kayong trabaho in the sense na hindi nyo na isuscrutinize ang 4 million income tax return at pwede na kayong maghabol doon sa malalaking taxpayers. So basically po, yun ang aking plataforma with regards to economy, national industrialization and genuine agrarian reform, and of course expansion of social services, stem corruption and abuse in government, and at the same time doon sa dalawang nabanggit ko, pension reform and taxation reform. At yun pong advocacy at policy at legislative agenda na aking ipupush kung pala rin pong manalo ako sa Senado nitong 2016. Maraming salamat po. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat, Representative Colmenares. Attorney Kapunan, you can go on the podium or pick up the mic and walk on the stage. It's up to you.
Magandang gabi po. Ay, gabi na ba? Hapon. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. You know, I would have liked Mayor Duterte to be here and Senator Alan to be here because I would have said to them, kung takot ang ibang pumunta dito sa Lasal, sa forum ninyo, ang Attorney Lorna Pataho Kapunan po ay hindi takot. And that is why I am here in front of you to talk about what I want to do should I be given the chance to win for the Senate. Senator Martin ang sinabi ko, and Senator Neri. Neri and I belong to the party of Grace and Cheese. It is a party that stands not only for galing, kasi lahat naman ng kandidato, and I saw here that there are probably for the Senate, more than 50, Maria? There are more than 50 candidates for the Senate. Wala po sa Senado, wala pong mag-iisip na tumakbo sa Senado pag hindi po sila naniniwala na magaling sila. Pero kami po sa partido ng Grace at Cheese, hindi lang po may galing, may puso. At nakita naman natin in these last few days how leaders have responded with insensitivity. How can you trust a leadership that will veto for senior citizens like me, that will veto a measly 2,000 SSS pension increase? Ang tawag doon, walang puso. Ang Mama Sapano incident po, one of the victims there is a second cousin of my father, Efrem Mejia. Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa nasusolve ang Mama Sapano incident na yan. Hindi pa natin alam kung sino yung talagang may command responsibility over dyan. So I'm here today, 38 years of law practice. I'm probably one of the very few who is not an incumbent senator or an incumbent governor, incumbent mayor, incumbent congressman. I am a simple, sabi nila, Attorney Kapunan, hindi simple yan. I am a simple practicing lawyer for the last 38 years. What does an Attorney Kapunan want to bring to the Senate? I want to bring to the Senate what I have learned in the last 38 years of my law practice, which is that there must be an end to oppression. that you should stand for what is truth, but most of all, that you cannot be desperate. You have to continue to believe in the system. I share the desperation. I share the anger of Mayor Duterte and Senator Alan. I share the passion for peace and order. I share their anger, but unlike them, I am not hopeless. As a matter of fact, that's what I want to bring to the Senate, an agenda of hope. What is Attorney Kapunan's agenda of hope? H is for honest government. We need an honest government where we have an efficient system of justice. I have been in the practice of law, kulang na kulang po ang courtrooms natin. Why? Where is the budget of the Justice Department? We should increase the salaries of our justices to remove hoodlums in robes. We should create more specialized courts. Sabi ni Mayor Duterte, taking the law into your hands is not correct. You must believe in the justice system. Create special courts for drug abuse. Create special courts for those who do not believe in peace and order, keeping peace and order society. So I believe in honest government. Create courts that will bring guilty people to jail and innocent people. I believe also, H, in hope, I believe in health. Mahirap po intindihin yung sinasabi nila na universal health care, na meron naman tayong PhilHealth, na healthy Pinoy is healthy Pinas, or healthy Pinas is healthy Pinoy. Simple lang yan. Ang sabi ng Philippine Medical Association, Attorney Kapunan, simple lang yan. Pag pinag-usapan ang health, ang pinag-uusapan, libreng laboratory, namamatay ang mga tao sapagkat ni laboratory expense sa laki naman ng PhilHealth natin. Bakit hindi naman tayo pwedeng mag-legislate ng libreng laboratory expense? Attorney, sabi nila, pwede ho ba hindi lang libreng laboratory expense, libre naman pang opera? For those who belong to the low middle income level and the poor, bigyan naman natin ng karapatan. Let us legislate to increase the coverage for PhilHealth because that's where our money exactly goes. O in hope is for opportunity for all. Sabi nga ni Congressman Colmenares, we are an agrarian society. We need to support our agrarian reform program. Nag-expire na tuloy ang term. I am for extension of agrarian reform. The farmers, our agriculture in this country, although we should be an agricultural country, sabi nga in the first SONA, we are net exporters daw of rice. Somebody lied to the President. Up to now, nag-i-import pa tayo ng rice. At dahil sa climate change na yan, our farmers, our fisher folks, are the most vulnerable to climate change. Let us support them. They are part of our marginalized. Opportunities for all. Our farmers, our fisher folks, our women, our children, our senior citizens. I may look 49, but I'm not 49. I am 63. Senior citizen na po tayo. Solo parents, our ancestral tribes, our ancestral domains, our veterans, our pensioners. We must give opportunity for all. P is for peace. P is for solving the poverty problem. P is for productivity. And E, in hope, is for education. We have to believe that the youth of today is not the hope of tomorrow. The youth of today is the hope of today. You have been educated by a system, sadly, that you have forgotten love of country. So we must bring back education that will instill love of country for the Filipinos and the Filipinos. We should take a look at our K-12 program to see to it if it is responsive. So that is education. We should also look at the budget of our state-owned colleges and universities. Under the Constitution, education deserves primary consideration in the budget, not payment of foreign debt, education. E is also for employment. Why do we have OFW? 6,000 Filipinos leave this country every day for looking for jobs. I know how much your tuition fee is here. My son said, "Mommy, do not talk about me. My son is a graduate from this school." I know how much it costs, but will you have jobs after you graduate from this university? No. We must legislate to give employment opportunities for all. Remove the practice of contractualization. We should also look at decent living wages. Ang mga magagawa, sabi sa akin, ang living wage po natin, hindi namang living wage, living wage. Taman-taman lang pang living. So E is for environment, E is for education, and E is for employment. So Attorney Lorna Capunan is here. I have no promises. I have no track record in legislation, but I do have a track record for fighting for the oppressed. I do have 38 years of fighting for your rights. And I will bring my competence, my compassion, galing at puso, to carry my agenda of hope. Sabi nila, buwisit naman, lottery. Hindi naman ako nanalo sa lottery. Bakit? Tumaya ba kayo? Sweepstakes. Walang nananalo sa sweepstakes. Tinatanong ko sila, bakit? Bumili ba kayo ng sweepstakes ticket? And that is my example when I hear people say, pare-pareho na naman kayong mga kandidato. Nangangako lang, puro pangako, napapako naman. Ang sinasabi ko pag ganyan, kung gusto nyo ng manalo sa sweepstakes, tumaya kayo. And that is what I offer to all of you. Make me that ticket of hope. Invest in my desire to serve. And surely, though I will not make promises, I will make a commitment. If elected, I will fight for your rights because that's what I stand for. Laban para sa karapatan is what I stand for. And they say, sabi nila, last minute, I know, sabi nila, because Senator Alan ended up with a joke, I will end up with one. Sabi nila, if you cannot teach old dogs new tricks, change the dog. So if you're not happy with your public officials now, sabi nila, kung gusto nyo ng pagbabago, maghalal ng bago. Ako po yun. Maraming salamat po. Remember our agenda of hope, honest government, opportunity for all, peace, productivity, prosperity, education, environment, and employment. Let us not lose hope. Exercise your right to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lorna. Up next, we have Martin Romualdez. He is in his third and last term as a Leyte representative. He's also part owner of the Standard and the Journal. You've got 5 minutes.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to start off by thanking Rappler for this invitation. Maria, you've done a wonderful job. Keep up the great work. I'd also wanted to acknowledge my former principal, the president of La Salle, Brother Raymond Suplido, but I believe just left the room. He was quite formative in my education, and I'm so glad to come back to La Salle. I was here. I won't tell you the dates. I am a graduate of De La Salle. In fact, my elementary years were all spent here in the original campus. And I have a brother here, Philip Romualdez, who similarly is a La Salite. So anyway, enough of that. We go now to me, my platform, and I'd like to thank everyone for being here. I'm a 3-term congressman hailing from the 1st District of Leyte. That includes Tacloban City and the 7 municipalities. Unfortunately, these were the same municipalities and the city that was the worst hit by the Typhoon Yolanda. A little over 2 years ago, Yolanda struck us. We thought it was over, it was hopeless, we did not know where to begin. My campaign, and if you've seen my commercials on my TVCs, is hinged on the word malasakit. Malasakit, translated, is compassion, empathy. We feel that public service today needs more of that, malasakit. That is critical for public service. Public service without malasakit is just a job. And we know, just like the teaching profession, or even people in the media, we do not do it for the money, or at least for the salary, because obviously we are not paid well enough. We are glad, of course, that the Senate has passed the standardization law just yesterday to improve the plight of our government workers, but we still have a long way to go. And I feel that an attitudinal change is in order. I'd like to also take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you, the universities, the schools, the deans, the presidents, the officials, and most of all, you students who took time out. Nakiramay po kayo, tumulong po kayo. You volunteered, you prayed, you gave us relief goods, medicines. You were there, and you were the inspiration that lifted us all. That is why, slowly, we have begun to recover, and I thank you all for that. I would like now to go to my platform. May malasakit na ekonomiya that will push for more jobs. Not just any jobs, but jobs that will give our workers a decent quality of life for himself or for herself and provide for the needs of the family. To provide capital and incentives to small entrepreneurs and industries. One compassionate economy that will provide efficient transport and communication systems, unlike the current state of our MRT and LRT that breaks down, causing agony to the commuting public and the slow internet speeds that afflict every one of us today. We're very happy that in the 15th Congress, we had initiated a bill that has become a law, the Go Negosyo Law, that has addressed the micro, small, and medium business enterprises, providing capital to small businesses in the rural areas. We shall pursue that agenda as well. May malasakit sa komunidad, where people care about others and help others in need, where we bound in our culture and values are united for our country, where we can feel safe and secure, whether in our homes or out on the streets. I dream of a day where kids are in school, not out on the streets, busy sniffing rugby, begging, or peddling drugs. And access to education means not just support until high school, but to more college scholarships. Push for an alternative tertiary education, like online learning, to bridge gaps in the learning opportunities. Of course, it's imperative that we have to improve the bandwidth because our internet is only second to the last. We are just ahead of Afghanistan, and I think it's about time that we address this, and we have to talk to our duopoly to address this situation. We know, and I take this all from Rappler, that our schools, only 20% of our schools are actually connected. And we know that an improvement of the internet will also improve our economy. So it is critical. We have to address this, and engaging the stakeholders in both Globe and Smart is a step in the right direction. Further to that issue, we could also look at the NTC's charter and make it more independent, thereby unleashing the talents and the resources of the stakeholders therein. Also, within this malasakit to the communities, health, where medical services are provided free to those who especially cannot afford it. Hospitals and clinics that won't turn them away because they cannot provide the prohibitive deposits. Universal health care should be parallel to improving facilities, hospitals, health centers, including how to entice more qualified health professionals to choose to stay here and deliver quality health services to fellow Filipinos. The quality of care should not be different regardless of whether you're at Makati Medical Center, St. Luke's, or when you're in a city or a municipal health center in the far-flung provinces. Because I believe that a healthy citizen translates to a healthy and productive nation. May malasakit na gobyerno, where public officials are sensitive to the plight of the majority of the citizenry. I repeat, where public officials are sensitive to the plight of the majority of the citizenry. A government that listens and responds to the changing needs of the people, like in the case of the SSS pension hike. A more inclusive PhilHealth program. a more responsive government to the abused and exploited sectors of the society, like the OFWs. Government should invest in technology and encourage and not stifle IT solutions to improve the quality of life of Filipinos. In Manila, traffic solutions rely heavily on technology now. Because of the DOTC and the MMDA, their inability to address traffic, commuters or drivers rely on Waze. Because the LFTRB can't discipline abusive drivers, we see ourselves sharing apps like Uber, GrabCar, which flourish today. With people today glued on social media, and as you can see, most of us are glued onto our laptops, tablets, or our smartphones, we can only expect that the social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and the rise of the new citizenry we call netizens is the future. Technology plays a huge part in our lives, whether we like it or not. During Yolanda, being cut off from the rest of the world with no means of communication and no mobile, no landline, no internet was agonizing. Technology bridges the gap and offers real viable solutions. Preparedness, immediate disaster response, like Rappler's hashtag MovePH, a very, very important part of our recovery. We thank you, Rappler, Maria. Thank you for that. We need to take advantage of the new technology for better forecasting and warning systems to help out hazards and to guide us in our land use and regulations. It is time to study how we can incorporate technology-driven solutions for the education and livelihood and healthcare services. Computer literacy, the internet and information and technology should all be made accessible to all. Kahit ilang pang bagyo ang dumaan, hindi nito kayang mayanig ang tibay ng puso at lakas ng loob ng nating mga Pilipino. We all rose from these disasters to rebuild, to start anew, to look forward to a new tomorrow, dahil merong malasakit. In my public stint, I can honestly say that I have proven that kapag may malasakit, walang imposible. Ako po si Martin Romualdez, isang Pilipino, handang-handa maging boto mo, boses mo, handang makinig sa lahat, at handang-handa magmalasakit sa inyo lahat. Daghang salamat, damong salamat, mabuhay sa inyo lahat.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. The mics are open, and while you're thinking of your question and going up, you have a first one. Sige, you can take my first question, and I'll wrap up. Go ahead, introduce yourself and to whom.
Hi, I'm Carmel Puertoliano from De La Salle University. First, I would like to tell Congressman Romualdez, we're not called Lasalites anymore, we're Lasallians now.
Thank you so much. It's been some time. I was
Yes.
telling Brother Suplido, it's been the better part of a decade. And I didn't want to reveal the fact that I graduated here 40 years ago. But those are the facts, and I will not lie about my age. I'm 52, and proud to be a Lasallian.
Thank you so much. And my question is actually directed to Attorney Kapunan. We have known you to have defended high-profile cases, such as Hayden Ko, James Yap. And you said while you were explaining your platform that you are here to champion the oppressed and to fight for honest governance. My question is, how does your representing Janet Napoles, who has, whether directly or indirectly, probably oppressed several Filipinos by siphoning billions of pesos from the government, account for that? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Actually, I wanted somebody to really ask that question because what all of you don't recall was I was the one who surrendered Napoles to the president. I was the one who surrendered Napoles to the palace. I was the one who asked Napoles to execute a deposition to mention all of those who have availed of PDAF. And she said to me, yes. Incidentally, I'm not her lawyer I am not Napoles' lawyer for the PDAF cases. I was her lawyer for the kidnapping case because the whistleblowers alleged, and the whistleblowers also had their own foundations, I later found out, And the reason nag-whistleblower sila is because sila mismo nag-form ng foundation nila na nagnanakaw ng PDAF. And so these whistleblowers were caught by Napoles, takes one to know one, and therefore they claimed, at least one of them claimed na kidnap siya. And when I found out that she was not telling the truth, you know, I only have one rule with my client. Whether you are a Hayden Co. or a James Yap or a Napoles, there is only one rule. Do not lie to me. The minute you lie to me, I will drop you. And that's what I did. I dropped her. So please remember, I dropped her, I surrendered her to the president, and that is where all of these prosecutions started.
Thank you so much, Attorney Kapon.
Thank you so much. And thank you
Follow-up?
for the information that they are now called Lasalites.
Whoever gets to the mic first.
Okay.
Thank you, Lorna.
Good afternoon. This question is all for you three. Since you're going to be the legislators, candidates for legislators, I have an essential issue that you have to address. What is your stance on same-sex marriage?
Same-sex marriage,
Yes.
for me, discrimination is the issue here. And I believe there are if people, it is the right of people who believe in same-sex marriage to advocate and in fact, if don't believe in it. So sa akin, ang same-sex marriage, ay co-author doon sa divorce bill sa Kongreso with Gabriela Women's Party. We are co-authors of, I am the author, in fact, of the anti-discrimination bill against LGBTs. And I believe that there should be no discrimination on the basis of gender preference, on the basis of economics, of course, and ethnicity and so on. And for me, karapatan yan. Kung yun ang tingin nila na dapat, that is their right. And I have no I have no right at all to stop them from doing that.
Can I just stand? I hope you don't mind that I stand up because masikip yung bandalong ko. At saka yung paa ko, hindi, unlike Martin's feet reaches the floor. My feet cannot reach the floor. So please, pasensya if I stand up. I am not grandstanding. What is my view on same-sex marriage? You know, when the U.S. Supreme Court, when the U.S. Supreme Court decided by a vote of 4-5, I think, there was only one justice, and the most conservative justice voted for same-sex marriage. Why? Using the 14th Amendment, that there shall be no discrimination against gender, age, station in life, religious beliefs, political beliefs, etc. Our Philippine Constitution lifted the 14th Amendment when it says, no person shall be discriminated against on account of gender, political beliefs, etc. But we have a family code. And therefore, that should be enough for us because tayo naman, we are poor copycats of the U.S. Supreme Court. So if that case is tested in court, we probably will rule the same way. But we do have a family code, recently amended to define marriage in this way. Marriage is a permanent contract. Dati, walang permanent yung contract. Marriage is nakalagay sa old civil code, marriage is a special union lang. Ngayon, permanent contract. And that is why it is permanent, divorce is not allowed. Till death do you part, unless you poison your husband's coffee, or unless the bill of Congressman Colmenares is passed. We will not have divorce in this country. It is also a fact that the family code was amended to define marriage as between a man and a woman. So what is my view on same-sex marriage? My view on same-sex marriage is let the debate begin. Let us start to discuss same-sex marriage. But even before we decide, because the church says marriage has two. It is not only for the union of people who love each other, it is for procreation. So we have to hurdle that issue on procreation. But let me tell you, I'm a very big advocate of supporting legal consequences of a domestic partnership. We may not have same-sex marriages yet, but we must recognize that there are legal consequences to a man and a man or a woman and a woman living together. They should be respected in terms of their property rights. They should be respected in terms of their the right to form a domestic partnership. There should all of these legal consequences. They should be respected the right to enter into contracts. All of these are rights that should be respected short of marriage. I know that's a roundabout way of discussing same-sex marriage. But I will tell you, I will defend your right to a same-sex marriage. I was the first one who hired in my own law firm the first lesbian lawyer. I have the distinction of hiring the first, you know her name, the first lesbian lawyer. The first gay lawyer was hired in my law firm. The first transgender case I accepted, and this involves a famous, I will not tell you the name. Anyway, it is not here. But the first transgender case, transvestite case, I handled, and I won. And she was allowed to graduate. So I must say, it is a long process. But for the meantime, let us respect that there are legal consequences that arise from maybe not a same-sex marriage, but a domestic partnership. And let the debate begin.
Lorna, can I add, just on social media, it's the stand on same-sex marriage and union and divorce. Can you quickly, since you are the sole woman
I am for divorce. I am for divorce. As a matter of fact, it is hypocrisy to say that the church is not for divorce. Because the church has a divorce, and it's called a church annulment. And my stand here is, if it talks like a duck, walks like a duck, fucks like a duck, it is a duck. So if the church allows church annulments, which has the legal consequences of a divorce, I don't see why we should not have divorce under civil law. On same-sex marriage, I am saying, let us start the discussion on same-sex marriage. Okay. For the ceremony, let us start the discussion on a ceremony of man and of same-sex couples getting married. But even before that, let us recognize the legal consequences that flow from a domestic union of members of the same sex.
Martin, you're up. And then Neri, we'll come back to you to just your reaction on the divorce part. Go ahead.
I'm very glad that the two of you went ahead of me. Very learned lawyers. They've given you the backdrop of the issues, the legal, and I'll even tell you a little bit more that, yes, we are in a Catholic country, we're in a Catholic school, and so we've got to have that sensitivity. But with that being said, I think I am the only one here on stage who has stood witness to a same-sex marriage in a jurisdiction where it is allowed, and I've signed the documents there too. So the thing speaks for itself. I respect the rights of everyone, of every human being, and as Lorna says, let the debates begin.
Maraming salamat po. Divorce. As I mentioned, the bill I authored actually in Congress is an amendment to Article 36. Alam niyo naman sa Article 36, di ba? Technically, it's called the Declaration of Nullity of Marriage. Sabihin na lang natin, annulment of marriage allowed under the Family Code, di ba? On ground of psychological incapacity. Kaya lang napansin ko, sa maraming instances, kahaba-haba ng annulment case, kadami-daming babayaran may psychiatrist o psychologist. When I was a practicing lawyer, hirap talaga pag ordinaryong empleyado ka na mag-avail ng Article 36. So I filed a bill in Congress
na ina-amend ng Article 36. Dapat may conclusive presumption of psychological incapacity the moment there is spousal violence. The second is abandonment of family for at least 1 year. And third, infidelity. Ibig ko sabihin, pag nalaman na may spousal violence ka, there's no need to hire a psychiatrist. The judge should declare you psychologically incapacitated to fulfill marital obligations. Bakit ka pa hire ng psychiatrist, psychologist, kamahal-mahal? So, ang maka-avail lang ng Article 36 ngayon, malalaking artista, but the ordinary clerk. So, sa akin yun ang bill na in-author ko. Maraming mga kasama ko sa Kongreso, sabi nila, Neri, ilang infidelity ba ang kailangan bago ma-declare na psychologically incapacitated? Ilang sampal? Pwede ba 3 bago man lang ma-declare? Sabi ko, hindi pwede. Depende na yan sa asawa mo. Kung nakita ka ng asawa mo na sinampal mo ang asawa mo once at gusto niya ka na niyang i-anal yung kasal, that's it. Pero kung yung asawa mo, ipapayag na 10 beses mo muna siya sampalin bago ka niya i-charge under Article 36, so be it. The point is, sabi ko sa kanila, the moment you commit these acts, you should be declared by any court psychologically incapacitated para hindi na mahaba. So ang sabi ko nga dun sa bill, ito yung bill na nagpaiksi ng period ng kaso sa annulment of marriage cases at pangalawa, pinapababa ang gastos so that we can also make Article 36 accessible to the poor.
So we have 10 minutes left before we lose the airwaves. Let me just ask each of you, you know our political system. From your lessons learned, from what you've lived through, what is one pivotal event that shaped you that you want to change if you were to become senator?
Yolanda, that's what changed everything for me. I was very satisfied and content after serving 3 terms to turn it over, because I always feel that public office is not a vested right, and it's a matter of stewardship. But having seen the damage that Yolanda wrought, and finding out not just out to the province, but to the region, I saw the plight of my fellow Warais, and I discovered how depressed the region was. Tacloban, as you know, is a highly urbanized city. That's basically half of my district. We've got everything there. We don't have to come to Manila. We had about 20 flights a day before Yolanda. So you could go anywhere, anytime, have anything. After Yolanda, I discovered that the region was the most depressed region in the country. As a public official or a public officer, it's everyone's dream to serve the poorest of the poor. And that's why I am here. And we want to become a senator so we can address the most important piece of legislation before us, the budget. The budget and its inequities and the better distribution of our nation's resources is in order, and that's why I'm here. And definitely, Yolanda is not about the death and destruction, but the lessons learned from thereon. Thank you.
Who wants to go next?
You know, sabi nila, never say this. Never say this at all in public, but I will say it. Why am I running? Simple lang yan. Maraming gonggong sa Senado.
That's it. What is the event? Sa akin, yung pork barrel. That struggle sa pork barrel, malaking issue yon. And for me, sa akin kasi inherently evil kasi yan eh. Kasi the moment, what is pork barrel? It's simply defined as a public fund na ang nagdidesisyon kung anong proyekto at sinong beneficiaryo ay iisang tao lang. I mean, you have billions of pesos in the budget and yet you allow one person to decide kung saan pupunta yung budget na yan. For me, that is first a source of graft and corruption. Yung panahon na nilabanan namin yung, we filed a petition against pork barrel in the Supreme Court. Yung event we filed a petition against DAP. Source of graft and corruption. The moment you allow one person to decide where budget the billions would go. Baka ibigay niya sa kamag-anak niya, bahala na siya. Ibigay niya sa kaibigan niya, bahala siya. That's it. It's source of graft and corruption. Secondly, patronage politics. I mean, pwedeng sabihin, is there such a thing as a good pork barrel? In the end, na-realize namin after the Napoles scam, and I'm glad you dropped her, Attorney Kapunan, kasi after the Napoles scam, sabi namin, is there such a thing as a good pork barrel? No. What is patronage politics? What is patronage politics? Yes. You give funds to your allies and not to your enemy. Kahirap naman, the public service should be given to all, pero just because one person decides na ibigay ko to kahit kanino, then, kawawa yung mga tao doon sa syudad na yon na walang gamot, walang ospital, walang classroom. So basically, para sa akin, yan ang malaking issue na when I get to the Senate, if I get to the Senate, sa budget itself, we will continue our fight against this misuse of public funds in the form of pork barrel and not allow one person to hold sway over the lives of an entire country merely because he or their group at least controls large chunks of money and funds and the discretion kung kanino ibibigay ito. That is the battle I will wage in the Senate.
Thank you. Last question from the audience. Your name and to whom?
My name is Antonio Bilazon. I'm from Lyceum of the Philippines University, taking a Bachelor of Science in Customs Administration. I'm not sure if everybody was aware of that course. I would refer my question to the congressman. This would talk about first what Mr. Congressman Colmenares talked about producing our own products and talking about APEC and then foreign countries telling that you should import as opposed to patronizing your own. I think the problem in the culture of the Philippines, pardon me, I'm a bit nervous. This is the first time I am in this kind of forum. So yeah, I think the problem with our nation, especially in our culture and in the young generation, is that we try to undermine nationalism and patriotism. Everybody is trying to patronize someone else's culture. Every popular culture is
Your question, please? Sorry.
About that. I'm a
We're
bit
running out of
nervous.
time. Yeah.
All right,
Go ahead.
My question is regarding producing your own products. You said that industrialization is the key, and I think with the coming of the ASEAN integration, we are not yet prepared. So, as a legislator, what are the things that you're going to be doing in order for the Philippines to be prepared in that sense? And then, what's your stand against on the Tariff and Customs Modernization Act?
I dream of the day when we can produce our own electric fan. Yun palaging ginagamit ko kasi ang sa akin tingin, electric fan nga lang, pero yung makina nun galing Taiwan, yung propeller nun kung saan-saan nang galing. Kasi tingin ko, we do not produce what we need talaga. And the ASEAN integration, yun ang tanong mo, para sa akin, not only are we not prepared, that is not the right economic strategy. The moment you allow entry of foreign products dito sa Pilipinas, lulumpuhin ang lokal na negosyo at industriya. Paano magko-compete ang agriculture natin? Ang magsasaka natin, charge ng irrigation fee. Can you imagine that? The government charges farmers irrigation fee. Pinatayo ng Thailand yan. Thailand built a lot of irrigation, systems. 30 years ago, they projected kailangan to. Libre yan. Tayo, isisingilin mo yung farmers mo. Di syempre, mataas ang production cost. Pagdating ng bigas ng Thailand, mura sila. O di, lugi ang lokal na farmers. ASEAN integration for me is the wrongest thing to do. And I disagree with that. I will still promote na, sige, sabi ko, hindi naman tayo absolutist. May trade naman talaga, may foreign investor. But the main engine of growth, buhos, kapital at suporta ang gobyerno sa lokal na negosyo at industriya. Yan dapat ang main economic strategy at tingin ko, pag nagawa natin yan, diyan uunlad ang Pilipinas when we begin producing what we need. Simple ang sabi ko diyan sa amin sa Visayas gawa tayo ng asukal, simplistic siguro, but just to drive home the point.
Benta natin sa abroad, gagawin nilang tsokolate, benta sa atin ang tsokolate. Mahal. Why don't we build a factory na ang asukal na yan, gagawin nating tsokolate at tayo ang magbenta ng tsokolate? That is the road to development. The moment we do that, that's when we can develop. So, yes, I agree na may nationalism ako at may patriotism, and sa akin, what's wrong with that? I will always defend the Philippines from the onslaught of transnational corporations, big mining firms, and all these companies that only come to our shores to exploit our resources and cripple our local economy. Maraming salamat po.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. Just like one last sentence from each of you, please. Your close before we close. Go ahead. Go ahead. Neri, you can start. Or Lorna, go ahead. One last. Yeah, or unless you guys don't have anything else. Would you like to just close?
No, can I just add, because really, the primary problem for our country still remains to be poverty. Poverty. Poverty where 90% of our fellow men share 10% of the country's wealth, and the 10% control the 90% of our country's wealth. That brings about poverty. And many people have said that, and I totally agree, you can solve poverty through employment, create jobs, create industry, bring down the cost of doing business. In many countries, we are probably the highest cost of electricity, we're the highest cost of transportation, highest cost of water, highest cost of everything. Why? Because we have privatized. Clean government. Because I am not blaming the private sector, because the private sector has stepped in because of default of government, because of inefficiency, incompetence. The long-term solution to poverty in this country, to our economic ills, is to create jobs, to create Filipino-owned and controlled businesses, to lower down the cost of doing business, to bring back honest government that will begin to serve us, that will lower the cost, and eventually privatization of public utilities, because in the Constitution it says public utilities should be for public service and not for profit. So my priority legislation, apart from instilling hope really in the first 100 days, I will make an inventory. Ang nangyayari sa mga senador, gawa na lang tayo ng gawa ng mga batas. In my first 100 days in the Senate, I will make an inventory of all the laws because we have so many laws. But we lack rules and regulations. My second thing is I will make an inventory of the laws that need to be amended. Sometimes we don't need new laws. Sometimes we just need to amend existing laws or to make rules and regulations. And also in my 100 days, I will make sure that the laws have the proper budget appropriation. So, yun po, that's what I believe in. I support Martin's malasakit. I support my co-party congressman here, Nery Colmenares' call for nationalism.
Unfortunately,
please, I was going to say.
Go ahead.
I was going to say thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you, LaSalle. Thank you for your questions. And to the audience on radio, on television, thank you so much for staying with us. It's hashtag the leader I want, DZRH, MBC, the Media ng Bayan, PTV4, as well as Facebook, if you're whatever forum you're watching, and your mobile phone. My name is Maria Ressa. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for all of you. And LaSalle, thank you.